you go.
Pretty snappy opening there.
Thanks, buddy. I wrote that. I wrote that.
Right.
My name's Derek Smalls.
There we go.
No, that is actually an intro to one of the songs that is going to eventually be on my album that I can't seem to finish. And let's see if we can fix
Is this like the 10-year plan? Is that
Yeah.
is that what you got?
yeah, it's pretty rough, dude.
Yep.
It's pretty rough. And it's mostly because I don't like the idea that I have to play multiple instruments on this album.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been procrastinating it and trying to find other people to take over the drums,
Mhm.
you know, and this just never really happened. So just in the last like 3 to 6 months, I've kind of finally resolved and gone, all right, I guess I'm doing it.
Right. I mean,
Better bang off the rust.
anyone that does, you know, a solo project like that is,
I guess you don't really need that. But.
yeah, anyone that does like a solo project, I mean, hats off to them, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about it, the exclusive thing I don't like about it is the fact that I'm collaborating with myself, which is my least version of being a musician. My favorite thing is jamming with other people.
Right.
And those beautiful aha moments that pop up because I never would have thought about it like that.
Right.
I never would have went that direction, you
Yep.
know? And sometimes it's even on my own instrument. Like, let's say you write a riff, hypothetically,
Mhm.
and when I hear it in my head, I'm hearing the doom, pa-coon, do-ka. But then you bring to me, just because this is the way you heard it in your head, and you add it, in order to do it, you put a program track behind it. It's just dun 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 cat dun 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 cat. I'm like, oh wow, that's actually, I would have never approached it because it just sounds like it should go this direction. But now that that's in the back of my mind, sometimes I blend the two, sometimes I'll switch back and forth, but that just doesn't happen as much when you're doing it by yourself.
Right.
So yeah, that's why it's the 10-year plan. That's why. Because I, like I said, I had to bang off the rust, man, and I'm just now getting to a place where I'm not completely humiliated by my own shitty drumming, you know?
Right.
Because it's been that long. It really has been that long since I took that instrument seriously.
I mean, literally gone are the days, and this is obviously, you know, showing my age, but, you know, gone are the days of the you know, the Tascam 4-track where, you know, it recorded on a cassette, and literally you could like do all the overdubbing and listen to that. And that was always the most challenging piece, is like, okay, getting the timing right. Because, you know, today's technology, digital, I mean, I think it's a lot easier to like try and, you know, okay, scratch that, let's do it again. Tascam, it was like, oh man,
yeah,
you could only overdub so many times, and then that tape was junk.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, dude, there's a guy on TikTok I follow where he actually has like a really old high-end tape machine, and he shows how they like erased spots.
Right.
He shows how they would like reverse the tape to create reverse reverb.
Right.
Editing it like, oh, see, we're gonna get rid of this entire chunk, cut it out, here's my mark, split, put them back together, and then he plays it and it's just flawless.
Right.
I'm like, I know dudes who can't cut in and out of digital audio that cleanly.
Yeah.
Kind of mind-blowing, but yeah, I appreciate you being here, buddy. I really do, man. We've never formally met until today. But you've been around a while, man. For people that don't know, and we are officially on Twitch and YouTube. I should just grab my phone real quick just to make sure the feeds are working. Let me just do that real quick, like. Looks good. Looks like it's up. Can people hear us? Check. Yep. Rock and roll. Awesome.
I like that little delay that you always get from.
Yeah. And that's when I
just in case we say a bad word or something. You know,
yeah.
it's like,
Unfortunately, I don't have a radio dump button, so it's still gonna make it there.
Right.
It's just 5 seconds behind, so if you want, you can watch it in your own replay, like John Madden.
Yeah.
Circle on the screen. See, right here is when he fucked up.
Here, wait, let me put a bleep in here. It's like, yep.
I can do that in post, which I do none of, so it's still not happening.
Yep.
Yeah, but for people that don't know, just kind of briefly explain, let people know who you are and what you do.
Yep. So my name is Dave Rubene. I currently am the owner of my own little business. It's Ruby Glass Media. Do photography, concert photography, portrait photography, also video work and film work. So short films, music videos. That's like kind of one of the big things right now. Is kind of getting music videos and all that good stuff. So I've been doing it for, oh gosh, here again I'm dating myself, but been doing photography for probably, well, I would say since about 1982, kind of off and on. And then, professionally, and when I say professional, I mean this is really kind of the full-time spin. Been doing that for probably the last maybe 20 years or so.
No shit.
So yeah.
So how did you get into photography? Like, what drew you to photography? Because that's where you originally buttered your bread, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
You didn't start with video. You didn't start with all the. It starts with photography.
Yeah.
Now, it's weird art, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean it's unique.
Yep.
Right. It's a weird art because photography is the one art where you're not bona fide. You are not creating something from nothing like other artists do, like a painter or a musician or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like, we literally see something in our mind and create that.
Yeah.
Your art, that art, it's more about capturing a moment from an angle that, explain it, because I think what draws you guys to that art is completely different than what draws us to our art. Like, it's what draws my wife to painting is extremely similar to what draws me to music. But what draws you guys to photography, I think, is way different. What is that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it's, quite honestly, it's actually seeing that. To me, it's seeing something, right? It's actually seeing a movement. It's seeing how light is maybe, casting or folding off of a person. In live photography, I mean, it's definitely kind of the stage presence, seeing what's going on, the emotion, the mood, the energy that's coming off the artist, whether it's the drummer, whether it's the singer, whether it's guitar players, bass players. It's really trying to capture that feel, that emotion. That's really, I've been asked several times, like, well, why are you taking it from that angle? Why are you taking it from, what's kind of drawing you to the photo? What's drawing you to the subject? And it truly is just seeing kind of that light, seeing how the light is folding across the person, because it's, to me, that's what makes the photo, right? Part of it is the light, and really capturing that kind of ambiance of what's going on, but also it's the emotion that's being kind of exhibited from the artist. So it's,
So when you got into photography, it sounds like it was like pictures of bands. Was there like an image that stood out to you when you decided you wanted to be, like, what made you jump into photography then? Because it sounds like it was music oriented.
Yeah, it actually
it wasn't photos of flowers or, you know what I mean?
No. So,
it wasn't nature photos, it wasn't sports, it wasn't those crazy political photos, like, wartime photos and shit like that. It sounds like it was a musician. So what was it a specific photo?
Yeah, so, I have to kind of go back many generations, right? I go back to 1982, and, here I am sitting, I decided to take photography in high school, and the photo teacher I had was kind of this, I'll call him an ex-hippie, because he was kind of this laid-back guy. Everybody liked him. He was one of the few teachers that had long hair at the time, and, it was all black and white photography. And he was very inspiring. I think what really drew me to photography was probably Ansel Adams, and seeing nature photos that Ansel Adams did. And if you're not familiar with him, he actually photographed. Probably his greatest claim to fame is pictures of like Yosemite. And some of the photos, the black and white photos, were just amazing. His element of light and everything is just, capturing the kind of the raw essence of nature. And I started to like really, really get into it. And the teacher I had a connection in like the music world, and he was like a big music guy. He would go shoot different bands, on the weekends and things like that. And growing up, I grew up in California, so we had a lot of accessibility to, obviously the 70s with like the punk era and all that stuff. That was like a big thing. So he really inspired me to kind of capture people at their in these actions. He actually had a connection when the Who came in 1982 to the Coliseum. He had a connection, and he said, "Okay, look, we're gonna have a contest, and I want you guys to go out, capture." And I think it was a day in the life was the subject. And I went out and I took some photos of people. I don't know, like I think it was cheerleaders eating lunch or something. It's just, but it was kind of this thing where it was like kind of a social thing. They were eating lunch, and I actually was one of the people that won the contest. And he actually hooked up an arrangement so that we could go shoot the Who in concert at the Coliseum. So this was like a huge thing. So we ended up going there, and I always like to tell people my first concert that I ever shot was the Who. And I've got some really cool, black and white photos. And again, this is back in the days of film. This was all on film. It was all black and white film. And I've got some really cool photos of that, will last a lifetime, right? Of, Pete Townsend jumping, and
that's amazing.
All this stuff. And it was, again, 3 songs, it was the whole 3-song era. So, we shot 3 songs, and then we were out of the pit and watched the rest of the concert.
Wow.
But it was like,
what does that mean, the 3-song era?
Well, so there's, I shouldn't really say era. It's just like, it's the 3-song rule. And that is usually with major artists, you're limited to the number of songs that you can cover with the band. Most of the time, I say most of the time, it's the first 3 songs of their set. So that's when you'll see, if you're ever at a concert, you'll see the photographers go down to the pit, which is that area right in front of the stage, kind of in between where the crowd is and where the stage is. There's usually that gap. They'll go down to the photo pit, they'll shoot, 3 songs, the first 3 songs. And that's pretty traditional. Nowadays, there's some artists that are like, oh, you get 1 song, or, we're not allowing any photographers to shoot from the pit. You have to shoot from the soundboard. And then sometimes that's referred to as front of house. So they don't allow anyone to get like that close to it.
I don't understand. Why are they so picky about it?
Well, it depends on the artist, right?
Is it because you guys charge by the hour? Is it because you charge? Like, I don't understand why they're so anal about it. Is it like just an ego thing?
I think sometimes it is an ego thing.
Or am I just missing something? Am I exposing myself in how the level of not pro I am? Like, what did I just step in? What pile of shit did I just step into? Because it seems almost fishy. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But there's a thing. I mean, you kind of said like the era or the rule or whatever it is.
Yep.
So this is a common thing.
Yep.
The fuck.
Sometimes even the artist will have like what they call the fan pit, right? Which is they'll move the wall that's usually close to the stage. They'll move it closer to the stage, and then they'll have like a little section that is like fan club only people.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, for example. I shot Taylor Swift quite a few years ago, but we weren't allowed in the pit, but we were allowed in the fan pit. So we could shoot 3 songs from the fan pit, which was fine. It's okay. It kind of,
it makes more sense to me that you guys would limit it to 3 songs.
Yeah.
Like for any logistical reason, right?
Yep.
Like the amount of film you have, or the data card now,
Yep.
right? Batteries,
Yep.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be, but I'm just confused.
Quite honestly, there's even some artists that you know, allow you to shoot their entire set. They want the photos. They want, you know, a lot of exposure. So they'll allow you to shoot their entire set. Sabaton is the one that usually allows their entire set. That's the one that comes to mind real quickly.
Interesting. So you're 17, you're 18, you shoot the Who.
Yep.
You do your 3 songs.
Yep.
The 3-song rule. And then you get to watch the show.
Yep.
And so I'm assuming at that point this is what I want to do.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, I was just blown away by the fact that we got to do it. And you know, shortly after that concert, I started really getting into. I spent my weekends driving to Los Angeles, and that's when you know, bands like, you know, oh gosh, started off with more of the punk scene, like Fear. And
you were driving to LA.
Yeah.
And where were you?
I actually grew up in Anaheim, which is like right near Disneyland. Sure. In fact, the house that I grew up in was built for the workers of Disneyland. So it was kind of, I say that it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it sounds weird.
You know, you think that, okay, yeah, Mickey Mouse is like living at your house or something, but oddly, all the houses kind of in the neighborhood were in position that you could stand on the front yard and actually watch the fireworks. Cool. So, I mean, it was just kind of, it was strategically built, you know. So that's where I grew up. So I would spend my weekends as a teen, you know, going on Friday nights and Saturday nights. I'd be in LA, you know, and that's cool. And I was, you know, there trying to basically pimp myself around for shooting, you know, shooting a set. You know, I'd shoot Fear, and you know, I'd end up at the Troubadour, you know, shooting, you know, whoever, you know, back in the 80s, you know, Motley Crue was like a big thing. Metallica, Anthrax. This was all small club shows at the time. You know, now you see them and they're in huge arenas, right?
Right.
So yeah, it was just a great experience. It was some of it I would say is timing, right? You know, you're definitely the game has definitely changed a lot. Because before, you know, back then, you could go to the venue and, like, you know, as long as you knew people at the venue, they let you in the door with the camera. They'd let you backstage with the camera, you know, to shoot whatever. Or if the band was okay with it, if you knew the band, or if you knew guys in the band that you saw before and just kind of sparked up that conversation, they would say, "Oh yeah, come on back. We'll do some photos with you." So it just kind of built that way. And then I kind of checked out of it for a while. I mean, you know, I went on to college, I did other things. And then I picked it back up again. I started doing like a lot of sports.
Yeah, where'd that come from? Are you a sports fan?
I love just about any type of sport there is, right? And there are some sports that I've shot that I know nothing about. But I just love the action, I love the energy. Lacrosse is like one of them that comes to mind that really? I know nothing about that sport.
It's a weird one. It's a weird sport.
But I ended up, you know, I've covered quite a bit of it.
Yeah, lacrosse is a fucking weird sport, man. It's like a cross between hockey and football, sort of. Sort of.
Yep.
You know? And that ball?
Yeah.
Isn't it pretty small? Like a golf ball, basically? Maybe a little bigger than a golf ball?
A little bit bigger, yeah.
But, yeah. And they're like running around with these. I don't really understand it.
Right. Yeah, again, I don't know much about the sport.
You know,
itself.
Another fucking weird one, man, is cricket.
Cricket? Yeah.
I was in Jamaica. I got married in Jamaica, and when me and my wife were on our honeymoon, I think she needed to or wanted to take. It gets really hot in the middle of the day, so every day we went back to the hotel room in the middle of the day for a couple hours. Right? You just have to. You have to get out of the sun. And one of those days, I think she took a nap, and I was trying to figure out cricket.
Right.
Because that's how we do things, at least how I always did things. You just watch it and you figure it out. Baseball, football, basketball, and it doesn't take long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some weird little rules that pop up, especially with the penalties and shit.
Right.
But fucking cricket, just like, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, I couldn't even establish how many outs there were. Like, it's a bizarre sport, man.
Right.
That's hilarious, dude.
I actually have shot cricket, I think once or twice.
Like, why? Like, and why I'm bringing this up is because, like, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, traditional sports, even soccer, you can kind of, what's happening and when, and so you kind of know where to point your camera or where to look on the field or whatever. But with cricket, it's like, how do you even know where you should be? Like, where is the spectacular play? Where's the moment? It could be anywhere. It's not like with football, like quarterback, follow the ball, or unless you're like, I'm going to do the crazy offensive and defensive line collisions, but then you just stay right there and you just film the, I don't know.
I mean,
cricket's a fucking weird sport.
All the cricket lovers are going to hate me, but again, I don't even know what the positions are, right?
Neither do I. Same thing with the lacrosse.
Whatever the guy that's pitching, and then at the home plate per se, that's usually where the action. That's where I've shot most of the photos that I have on, from cricket, because that's typically where a lot of the action.
Yeah,
and that's where you kind of see the wind up, you see the pitcher's face, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a weird fucking sport, and so is lacrosse, like you brought up. So you end up getting into sports. Is that just because it paid the bills? Or did you seek that out because was it like a challenge? Like, how do you get from music to sports?
Well, I had this idea at one point that, some of the guys I was actually kind of looking up to at the time were shooting for Sports Illustrated. So I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe I can, if I kind of play my cards right, I can probably kind of work my way into Sports Illustrated or some sort of trade rag where I can kind of work full time as, a photographer just covering events, and that'd be pretty straightforward, and it would pay the bills. So, I tried to like really build up my portfolio. You just can't jump into like professional sports, right? It's not going to happen. There's a lot of like rigidity around shooting professional sports.
What does that mean? What do you mean rigidity? Like,
meaning that you usually have to shoot for a trade rag, meaning Sports Illustrated or ESPN magazine or one of those sort of media outlets.
Oh, they're not loose with who they hire.
No, not at all.
They're pretty strict about who they fuck with. Got you.
But like high school sports, it's a lot easier. You can be Joe Nobody and say, hey, I'd love to come out and like shoot your team playing this game.
See, and it should almost, again, it's just like, I feel that's super weird because like, yeah, so Joe Schmo can come out and take pictures of your daughter's fucking volleyball team. Like, that's weird.
Right.
Like we should be doing that the other way around.
Right. Well, there's definitely been
but I get it. I'm just fucking around.
Yeah. No, there's it's funny you bring that up because there have been sports that I've shot and it's like, you got to be very careful about how you're shooting them and the angles and what photos you're actually publishing.
Yeah.
Because there's things like, well, volleyball's one of them, female volleyball especially.
Yeah.
Female track.
Yeah.
Any of those where you kind of have legs and arms and, certain body parts that could potentially be exposed. You're not going to publish that in a magazine, right? I mean, not in the sports magazine.
Pop out, little nipple exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, like what happened in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I started shooting like a lot of it high school sports and then NCAA sports. So anything from football to basketball to and.
So you're building your portfolio at that point,
much.
Trying to get to Sports Illustrated?
Yeah.
And so Sports Illustrated, those kind of, you called them a trade rag?
Yep.
So that's the stability. That's like a real job.
Yep.
Health insurance and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Instead of the freelance deal.
Yep. Yeah, so, I...
Did you get it? Did you get it?
Actually, I've gotten published. I've had a couple of photos published in ESPN magazine. That's as close as I've gotten.
That's cool.
And again, that was kind of freelance work, but it was commissioned, right? So, they picked up. I did what was it? A NCAA track tournament that had multiple schools. It was a multiple school tournament, and it was out in Colorado. Went out to Colorado and shot that, and actually it paid off, right? It paid for the trip, and there was a little bit of cash on the side there, which was good. And I can, I've got the little trade rag to say, okay, yeah, I was published in ESPN magazine. So
that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
How long did that go on for? How long were you doing the sports before you got back into, or whether it's back into, did you do nature? Did you do all that other shit? Or did you just say, fuck the sports, fuck it all, I'm going back to music and entertainment?
I've never been a nature photographer. I love taking pictures, of like maybe sunsets and stuff like that, but I've just never gotten into it.
Yeah.
Right? And some people, that's all they do. That's all they want to do. They don't want people in their photos. I always want people in my photos.
Yeah. You ever shot comedians?
I have a few. Yeah.
How different is it when you're trying to shoot a comedian versus a musician?
It's very short, actually. There's only so many photos you can get with them holding a mic, right?
Sure.
Different face expressions depending on who the comedian is, right? Some
so you just wait till they actually very say flat. Something funny.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for their reaction.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, like they drop a punchline, it lands, the crowd's laughing. They finally get their little dopamine hit too because their joke worked. Boom, take your picture.
Yep.
That's all you got. Burst photo it, catch like 30 right there in a second or two. That's hilarious.
So
dude.
Probably about 15 years ago, I think is when I really started. I went back into the music scene. And
was it just straight in? Or did you dabble between sports getting back into music?
Yeah, so my daughter was actually dating a guy that was a musician. He was a football player, right? So I was actually shooting him as a football player, but then he had a band too. And he was going to perform at this really small club. I think we were living in Riverside at the time, in Riverside, California. So I went down and I shot. And for some reason, that night kind of like just sparked the whole re-energizing of getting back in and shooting bands and shooting artists. And it just kind of took off from there. I started doing 1, then 2, 3, and I started like going out to clubs, and hooking up with different online media outlets and things like that, getting them to get me a photo pass for the show. And they basically represented me. I started writing little articles, kind of reviewing the show, doing like little photo essays of the show and stuff like that.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
Because you came onto the scene. You've been doing this shit here since. And that's why I thought it was just kind of mind-blowing. We've never actually met.
Mm-hmm.
But you fucking photographers, man, you guys are like lurkers, man. Y'all are fucking lurkers, bro.
Right.
Because I guarantee you've been at my shows.
Mm-hmm.
There's zero possibility, as long as we've both been in this town, that you haven't seen me on stage. But I never, because way back in the day, those bands were fucking broke. We didn't have any fucking money to hire a real photographer, and your shoot was always super good. From day one, I've always noticed that, always from a distance. And all the bands that you fucked with were either already legit in town or they were about to be legit. And I always associated that with that. I was like, when this dude hits me up and he wants to work with me and take photos, because this is when I was fucking 18, 19, 20. I was like, that's when I know my band will be good. Right. It's like everything's lining up because this dude has not fucked with a shitty band.
Right.
Yeah. So
I appreciate that.
What do you think? Why does your shit stand out and look? Because it's not just me. It's not just some weird biased opinion. We're not buddies. I have no reason to kiss your ass. It's genuinely good, and it's genuinely better than almost everyone's.
Right.
What do you think they're missing when they're trying to do what you're doing well?
You're talking about other photographers?
Just in general. why can't everyone just, including the guys who are trying to do what you're doing, what makes your shit so different than theirs?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I really don't look at my stuff as like anything that somebody else can't do. You know, I mean, it's, in other words, I don't put myself on a pedestal saying, you know, oh, I'm an extraordinaire or something. That's definitely not the case. I think I have experience on my side. And I guess that could account to the number of clicks that I've taken, you know.
And that's kind of why I phrased it like that. It's like not why is your shit so dope, but like what's missing in the average photographer that shows up at a show or a concert or a behind the scenes photo shoot, and you take a picture of it and it's not even remotely. Is it all just post-production love, or is it, you know, certain fundamental principles of how you approach that where is it that most people are missing that mark along the line? Why are most people so unhappy with their photos and they're like, fuck it, get a professional? You see what I'm getting at? Like,
yep.
Without, I'm not asking you to boast, but what is it?
I think that there's just I think oftentimes we're misled to think that, well, anyone can take a photo. Well, that's true. Anyone can take a photo, right? But to elicit that emotion or to elicit a look, I think that's where experience kind of weighs in. So, you know, you mentioned stuff in, you know, married to some of the things in post. I actually don't do a lot of post work. Most of this, you know, I've always grown up. Well, I grew up and I learned that in order to do anything with the photo, the exposure has to be right. You know, you have to have right focus. You know, you have to have the right angle. You know, all that. It's got, those elements have to come together. It can't just be something where, okay, snap. You know, I mean, anyone can do that. They pull out their phone nowadays, click. Right. Okay, that's great, but you know, then they're having to like do a bunch of stuff in post.
Sure.
Okay, I've got filters, I've got this, I got that, you know, to give it this kind of whole, you know, kind of glowing look or fade, or, you know, maybe they want something, you know, really, really special. They want all these different levels of contrast or something that, you know, makes it like look dirty or kind of pull out. Or I actually don't do a lot of that with live I like more natural, and I like capturing the light. Some people get really upset, right? I know that there's photographers that get really upset about, you know, the different colored LED, and you know how it's, you know, maybe it's oversaturated red or oversaturated green or blue. Well, work with it. You know, I like working with the photo. If it's green, it's green. That's the way it looked. That's the way people are going to remember it.
Sure.
If the artist was green, they were green.
Yeah, I kind of know what you're talking about a little bit when it comes to that shit, because like trying to learn just to get this to not look like a piece of shit, which I guess it still kind of does. But you know, I came across a lot of that shit. Yeah, like that's framed horribly, you know. And I noticed you kind of that's much better. Just like that. But you transitioned into video too. And I kind of vaguely know what you're talking about a little bit when it comes to that, because doing some research to make this not look so shitty along the way, I stumbled across a bunch of videographer YouTube channels and shit, and they were breaking down some of that lighting shit. And it's like, and I guess it kind of makes sense for certain people, because this isn't actually red. This light makes it look red. What you're saying is like, who gives a shit?
Right.
They made a big deal out of it. And I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, I don't think this really matters for me. You know?
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's crappy lighting, you know, and, you know, small clubs are just known for lighting that is probably not preferred, right? It's usually just very, very dim. There's not a lot to work with. And so, and again, this is probably where experience comes in. It's just, I've just learned to adapt to the environment that I'm shooting in.
Sure.
If it's like the Excel Energy Center or US Bank, where it's a big concert and they have the huge lighting and all that stuff, there's no worry about it. I'm going to get it's going to be hard not to get a good photo.
Right.
But if I'm at, Club Underground or the Caboose or something like that, where the lighting is probably less than ideal at times, it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And I actually like that challenge. I like trying to figure out, okay, this guy's geeking with the lights, he thinks he's like Mr. Light Technician, but he'll have a pattern. So I kind of wait to see what that pattern is, and then I kind of adapt to what that pattern is.
Yeah.
Just so I can get a good shot.
People are so fucking predictable.
I mean, there are bands. Yeah, I mean, there are bands that say, you know what, we don't want any lights. Mm. Well, if you don't have any lights, you don't have any photos. I mean, there's just no way around it. You gotta have some light. Right. Even if somebody holds up a flashlight and shines on them, I mean, I can work with that. But and I've done that. I've actually taken like a little LED panel that I had. The concert the place I was shooting at was like really, really dim lit. They had like, I think 2 lights, one on either side of the stage. So you had like these weird shadows, and I just kind of took the LED and like I put it on top of my camera and turned it on and just kind of used that just enough, not a lot, but just enough to like give me a little bit of illuminance on the face. Because you can't, there's nothing you could produce.
Sort of makes sense though, because these venues aren't investing money in making it look good on camera.
Right.
They're investing money in making it feel good to keep people in a building to spend money.
Exactly.
And those are 2 different lights.
Oh, definitely.
Like different lighting conditions or whatever you want to call it.
Video is even more challenging, right? Because a lot of video depends on good light source. And sometimes, if you have a crappy light source, well, what happens is that you start to introduce a lot of like noise, which noise, in video and in photos, it just equals like these little grain spots. We used to refer to it as grain, high grain.
I got a little bit of it in mind.
Yep.
Because, you deal with what you got.
Yep, exactly.
And you can try to sharpen the image a little bit, but it doesn't really get rid of the noise.
No. If you sharpen a noisy image, you're going to get sharp noise.
Right. Yeah, there's a little bit of, I put a little bit of sharpening on here, and it does look better with it. But all I'm doing is sharpening that noise, and it's because there's so little of it that I'm able to get away with it. If there was any more noise, it'd actually probably make it look worse.
And there's different types of sharpening, right? There's you can just sharpen an overall image. You could sharpen just the edges, to make something a little bit more defined, a little bit more crisp. Yeah. There's different types. There are different levels, I would say, of sharpening that will kind of get you to a good result.
Yeah. So what made you get into the video side of shit? Because you started shooting videos how long ago?
Gosh. I mean, on and off, probably since the late 90s. And this was obviously back when it was either going to like a VHS-C or a VHS tape, or a digital tape. And I kind of played around with it, doing like little short things for, mostly connected with like my kids' school. They'll do plays or doing I did like a little short. My son had rats at one point, so we did a little short about the day in the life of the rat. And
back to photography school.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
A day in the life.
Yeah. So, it was kind of fun. I just did a lot of like just little projects. But I've always wanted to do something that's a little bit more feature rich, a little bit more, had a little bit more production value to it. And something that was not, quote, video work, right? It was just it's really film. It's really just sitting down and writing a script, writing a screenplay, all that, and kind of go down that direction. And there's not really a smooth way to start. You just have to kind of, I found that digging in is probably the best way that I can, really kind of absorb, into that whole area, that whole, aspect of video work or film work. So that's what I did. Is I just started like perfecting the craft a little bit, and I started off shooting video with like DSLRs, because DSLR cameras, those regular film, photography cameras, have that capability now to capture video.
It's DSLR, and then the other one it's been mirrorless, right?
Yeah, mirrorless cameras.
What the fuck is the difference between those two?
So DSLR has, well, just to kind of simplify it, it has a moving mirror, right? It actually has mechanical elements to it that allow you to take the photo. Where mirrorless doesn't have those mechanical pieces. It's all done through a digital process. So, for example, when you snap a shutter, right? When you take a picture, it actually is opening the shutter, closing the shutter, right? In a DSLR or in a film camera, that's a mechanical function. In mirrorless, it's not a mechanical function. It's actually an electronic function. So can you achieve the same thing? Sure. I mean, and it's very hard to tell now what is taken on a mirrorless versus something that's a mechanical.
And is the mechanical the artistically superior one?
For right now, probably. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. The only reason I ask is because, like, with the music production shit, all of these plugins are modeled to sound like their analog counterparts.
Right.
And you usually have to do a lot of work to actually get them to sound. A lot of people are like, they don't sound right, they don't sound good. Yeah, well, you're right. And it's because you're not using the plugin properly, because you're not getting the full effect, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I assume cameras are kind of like the same thing. They've been digitally trying to recreate what has already worked.
Yeah. So, it's funny, and I was kind of laughing when you were saying this, because if you look at, for example, Lightroom, which Lightroom is an application that's used to process photos.
Oh,
that you take digitally,
like Illustrator and Photoshop and
like
shit.
Photoshop. Yeah, I mean, it's just a different application, right? To do it, and it's very photocentric. But there are filters or plugins, we call it, or presets that can emulate a film look. Well,
no shit.
If you're wanting to have a film look, why not shoot on film? You're not. I mean, it comes close. It comes very, very close, and some of the presets are very, very good. But again, it's not as organic as shooting from a source element. Meaning, if I want to shoot something that looks like film, I'm gonna break out the film camera and put some black and white film in it or whatever and go shoot. It's not going to be, it's not going to be kind of like an augmented type of photo.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I just heard on TikTok, I came across this thing going on, an argument between this dude's like, yes, this sounds better than this. And he points to his tube amp and he goes, yes, this sounds better than this. And then he goes to the digitally modeled version and he goes, but if you set this up and mix this right, nobody can tell the difference. And I was like, maybe to your average listener, yes.
Right.
But I still think that if you actually learn how to dial in that amp and then properly mic it and properly mix that, they don't sound the same. Like, it's, you see what I'm getting at?
Yep.
Like, you can't really get to it. But again, I think that kid's right, because it doesn't fucking matter, because the average listener can't hear the difference. So it's like, who are you making this art for? Are you making it for the snob of snobs?
Mm-hmm.
Like me, you know? Or are you making it for the average listener? I think it's the same vibe over there.
Yep.
So, because I hear the film nerds argue about that shit too, like, oh, I prefer to do da-da-da-da. And it's like, man, I don't know if I can tell the difference. But now that I'm with an expert, here's what I want to know. Is it the same, or can we tell the difference? Is this why, quote unquote, not to get you to humble brag, but is that why your stuff looks so dope compared to a lot of other people? Is it the medium you're actually working on? You're not relying on these digital plugins, and is that what it is? Or is it all the other shit along the line?
I again, I go back to, you know, some of its experience of just kind of seeing the light and looking for the moment, right, to capture it, and seeing the pattern, whatever the pattern is. Artists even on stage have patterns. And
yeah, I heard you say that on Chilton. Explain this to people. This bothered me.
Why?
Because not like you didn't bother me. Mm-hmm. Like the musician side of me was like, oh, if that's true, we got to nip that in the bud. Like we can't be predictable. You know, like, do I have a pattern? Because I know exactly. I'm not going to call her out, but there was a female singer from a while back in a local band here, and we played a show with them in one of my first bands, mm-hmm. and I had to fast forward through them to get to my band, because we filmed it like we critiqued our shows.
Right.
Dude, and she literally walked in a circle the entire show.
Yep.
Which you would never see unless you watched it in fast forward. But literally, she's just doing this the whole show. I was like, dude, don't do this. So I, critiquing myself, comparing myself to others, trying to be a better performer and all that shit. Oh my God, dude. Fuck, I forgot my actual point. What was it?
You're talking about the repeating pattern.
Oh, yeah. And I was like, fuck. So it wasn't just her. I'm like, oh, but explain this to people. Because I just gave an extreme example. Mm-hmm. Explain what you're talking about, though, because I heard you say this on Chilton's podcast.
Yeah. So, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Is that everybody has, just by nature of being a human, right? We all have kind of a pattern that we go through. And we do things that are very repeated. It's hard to give you an example, but there's things, I'm sure, if you think about things that you go through throughout your day, there's probably things that you do that are very much repeated behaviors day after day, or even hour after hour. There are expressions, there are things that we say, there are movements that we do that are all repeated. So when an artist is on stage and they, I'll just use metal, for example, and they're banging their head and so on, there's a pattern where they'll kind of bang the head and they'll throw the hair back. Bang the head, throw the hair back. And you can almost see, okay, 3 head bobs, hair going. 3 head bobs, hair going. And mind you, I'm not like obsessive about it where I'm like, oh, okay, wait a second, let me write this down. Okay, what is he doing?
You're subconscious on it, and it's through experience.
Yeah, I just kind of watch the artist. I mean, knowing the music always helps. So, if I go, I'll just use Will's band, Coffin Right.
Oh, isn't that?
Yeah, that's it. That's actually your shirt.
Shout out to Will.
I know. I know how they are on stage. I know their pattern. I know how they, how they work, and that helps. And it helps me in a way that I can get them good photos. I can get them photos that are like really, really cool. Now, sometimes Drew, the singer, he'll do something that is completely something that he's never done before. And I'm actually so glad when that happens, because now I can capture it. Now I'm like right there to capture like this new new movement or this new, way that he's doing things. And to me, that's like, wow, that's like a really cool moment. The repeated patterns though are great for being able to capture things. I know, I'll know that, the drummer, the expressions on the drummer's face, or, the bass player, how the bass player is moving his head or his hands. It just really helps. It really helps to know, to see what those things are. So those patterns are actually very invaluable, and it's just literally kind of listening, watching, observing.
That's interesting. Who is your favorite artist you shot? Like, out of all, like, whether they're famous or not, like, who's like, and why is it because somebody has a natural charisma that's easy to shoot?
Wow, that's a really hard question to answer. I would almost have to break it down by saying, are you talking about like A-list bands?
No, that's why I said they don't even have to be famous. Ooh. It could be some crazy, weird punk rocker from 1997 in Chicago that no one's ever heard of.
Wow.
And then I'm just curious as to like what makes somebody where it's like, that's somebody I loved to shoot pictures of. Like, what qualities makes that? You know what I mean?
There's so many artists that come to mind that there's bands that there are some bands and there are some artists that I've shot that I really enjoyed shooting them.
What are the qualities that make that up? Like, what makes it enjoyable to shoot a certain person?
I think it's I really believe it's their stage presence. It's their, and what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be like some synchronized, choreographed presence on stage. It's just the command of the stage. That's probably the best way to put it. How they act on stage, how, does the act match the music? You can't have, I'll just give an extreme example. You can't have a country band going out there running around stage, jumping around.
You could.
It just, but in a lot of ways, it just doesn't.
They just can't sound like Hank Williams.
Yeah, it just doesn't work though. It's because, and again, I'm not a country hater or anything like that. It
doesn't work yet.
I've shot plenty of country, right? But
there's somebody out there going, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah, exactly. They're like clicking off at this point. No,
we're gonna prove him wrong. That's some 12-year-old that you just shit all over his dream, and his mission now is gonna be to prove you wrong. And guess what? If it's dope, you'll shoot the music video. I could use like Johnny Cash for example. No, right? I know what you mean.
He always had a strong presence on stage. Did he move that much? No.
I think a great example would be James Hetfield.
Yep.
James Hetfield is not active on stage, partially because he's playing now. I mean, even back then, and it's mostly because he's playing a guitar while he's singing.
Yep.
That immediately, he can't be Axl Rose.
Right.
It's not possible.
Right.
It's just not a thing. He can't even be Kirk Hammett, who used to kind of do that jog and skip around a little bit and stuff like that. Because he's stuck in front of that mic or behind that mic or whatever. But the presence and the command, his ability, I think that's a great example of what you're talking about too.
Yep.
It's got to be a little easier for those to take pictures of those guys too, because they just stand there. Taking pictures of Axl must have fucking sucked.
Yeah. Well, and keep in mind, Guns N' Roses, the time that I shot Guns N' Roses, it was from the soundboard at US Bank Stadium. So basically, they're at I'll say in the end zone, and I'm at the 50-yard line. Okay. And I had to shoot, it wasn't even like straight on, it was like off to the side. It was at on a platform that was just literally just above crowd level. So as I held the camera, I can see like the tops of people's heads.
Really?
So it just wasn't an ideal type of shoot. I would have been better off paying for taking a fan cam in, meaning like a little like Instamatic and shooting, paying for a pit ticket and shooting from the pit because, in the fan pit area, because that would have probably gotten better photos.
Dude, I heard something. I think it was like one of these K-pop bands.
Yeah.
I swear, maybe I dreamt this, but I swear I heard this in real life. Maybe it was in a TV show or something, or a movie or something, but I swear this is real life. They sold out like a stadium, like call it Target Center or whatever, but you're not allowed to bring your cell phone in or something like that because they didn't want people to. But then they sold cameras at like $40 a pop, like this basically disposable cameras. And they were like, here's your photo. Dude, I'm thinking they made more money on them fucking cameras than they did off the actual concert tickets.
Oh yeah.
I'm like that's the craziest fucking shit I ever heard in my life.
Yeah, well Prince used to do that. I mean, he would they wouldn't allow any type of cell phone into the venue at all. You'd have to check it in. And if they weren't doing that, it was like they would have something before Prince came on that said, everybody put your cell phones away. If you're caught with a cell phone, and they had people in the audience, if you're caught with a cell phone, you will be escorted out. And I've seen 2 or 3 people right out the door.
Yeah, Chappelle even started doing that at his shows.
Right.
You got to put them in a bag.
Yeah.
And you hold on to it.
Yep.
But you can't open that bag.
Right.
In the venue. You have to like walk outside, open the bag, because it's something about some sort of access, like a barrier or something.
Yep.
Like it's.
And he's probably doing that because he's gained weight, right? He doesn't want like compromising photos of him. Usually when artists,
I think he said because it was a distraction. I don't even think he was doing it because usually is what it is to scrub content. You don't want your shit out there without, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think Dave's whole thing is it was just a distraction.
The flashing
and people being on their phones.
Oh, yeah.
Just everything involved with it. Right. It was just like, put your fucking phones away. Well, this is a comedy show.
You brought up something and it always makes me chuckle a little bit, especially if you watch something on YouTube, like a concert or whatever. As soon as the lights go down, cell phones are up, and it used to be lighters, right? Now it's not lighters, it's cell phones.
The cell phone flashlight.
It's just like the sea of cell phone, and everyone's videoing it. Is there anything that's ever, held, to an imagination or, whatnot of seeing an artist?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It's just like, it's like that site Set List, where you can go out and you can see, okay, what's the set list that the band that the band played their last stop. And usually, touring bands, they have 1 or 2 sets, maybe. Sometimes it's the same set the entire tour. So, I've got a friend that, every time we go to a concert, he's like, "Oh, I went out to the set list and I know exactly what they're starting with." And why do we go then?
Right.
Now you've just taken the imagination, or you've taken some of the magic out of the show.
It's funny you say that. That happened when I went to Van Halen at Excel.
Yep.
When David Lee Roth was in the band.
Oh yeah.
I took my mom to that concert and we were walking into the venue. Like we had already gotten into the venue, but we were walking into the bowl or whatever the fuck you call it. Mm-hmm. We're going to our seats. And this guy is like with another dude and they cross in front of us and they're older than me. But the way they were acting was like 16-year-old kids. It was kind of cool. But then all of a sudden the dude goes, "Yeah, and they're starting with Unchained tonight." And then they're going into, and I was like, did this motherfucker look up the set list?
Yep.
Like, I'm a musician, and I've never thought of doing that or putting that out there for people.
Right.
I didn't think people would ever, like, what? Yep. Like this, but sure as shit he did. And it kind of pissed me off.
Yep.
I didn't want to know what song they were starting with.
Exactly.
It was just like... But, it's like walking up to fucking go see the new Star Wars movie,
Right.
And you somebody's walking out, I can't believe this character died.
Yeah.
And you're like, God damn it.
Like, okay.
Spoilers. It happens.
Yeah, as like a music fan, if I go to a to a concert or whatever, there's certain rules that I have, right? Is that one, I don't listen, I don't put on the artist, and listen to them as I'm driving to the venue. When I get to the venue, I don't sit in my car and listen to the artist, right? I want the experience to be fresh. I also don't look up the set list. I want to be surprised.
I will listen to their music on the way to go see their concert if it's a big national band.
Right.
But that's mostly just because I'm trying to like get in the vibe of their energy, because the music I listen to is so all over the place. And if I'm not careful, I'll be in the wrong type of mood and not appreciate what's going on.
Right.
Because I'm not an open template like that. It's like, I got fucking shit going on. So I might be in a Misery Signals mood. That's not exactly the best vibe to go into. I don't know, pick a band. But so I actually am that cheesy motherfucker. I'll do that shit, bro. I'll totally do that shit, dude. I will listen to Coheed on the way to the Coheed concert. I absolutely am that fucking guy. God, that makes me sound like a douche.
I just don't know if we can go to a concert though. That's the only thing. It's like
just not together.
Yeah, we'd have to meet somewhere.
No, I just have earbuds now. I'll do it in my own shit.
Well, you know what's so funny? I just remember, like, again, back in high school or kind of in the early days, going to a concert. You get there, everyone's partying out in the parking lot, which is cool. I mean, we all were drinking beer and all that good stuff. But invariably, somebody has, I remember going to see Pantera at one point, and invariably somebody has, Pantera just blasting, and like, can't you just wait? Like, literally 30 minutes from now, they're going to be on stage, It's like, just
It
wait.
is a little different if they're the headlining band and they're going to do like a 2-3 hour set.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they're going to play a lot.
Yep.
It's a little different when it's like they're going to go up and play a 20-minute set, but they've got 4 albums worth of music. It's like, I don't know what 5 songs they're going to go up there and play. I want, or nowadays things are just shuffled through a phone. Man.
But it's funny, we don't do that for like local bands, right? You don't like get in the car, we're going to go Club Underground tonight because, Blood War and Glutton for Punishment or Coffin Rights is playing,
and then put their music
and
on.
Then I don't.
If it's in my phone and my shit's on shuffle,
I'll listen to it. I mean, I'll certainly listen to it. I listen to it all the time. It's on my total rotation,
just not on the way there.
But I just, I'll listen to something different to go there, because that way my ears are fresh, and I'm not like, oh yeah, they're playing. Oh yeah, they're playing. Oh yeah, they're playing.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, dude. The tailgating at concerts, that needs to come back.
Yeah.
You mentioned that when you were talking about the fucking Pantera thing.
Yep.
That's got to come back. And then one thing is, I wish we could figure out a way to make touring and concerts and shit like that more cost effective and profitable for the large amounts of bands instead of just a small group. Because, dude, the idea of like, there's 2 things that don't get done a lot anymore. People don't drive to Chicago to go see a concert anymore, because we still don't get all the concerts in Minneapolis. Sometimes you got to drive to Fargo, which is weird. They'll hit Fargo North. You know what I'm talking about. I'm like, what the fuck? You'll hit Chicago and you'll hit Fargo and Minneapolis. You're just like, fuck you. I'm sure it's something to do with licensing and relationships and venue ownerships and shit like that. But following bands around on tour, that doesn't really happen anymore. When they do finally tour, that's just not a thing.
Right.
You go see them once and that's it. But that used to be a whole thing, man.
Yep.
Like, you'd follow a tour around.
Yep. Yeah, it's just not. It just doesn't happen nowadays.
Yeah, and part of the reason is because bands don't tour like that anymore, because it's not fucking profitable anymore.
Right.
They'll tour for short periods of time, unless you're Metallica.
Right.
And I'm sure people still follow Metallica around on tour, but they don't really tour anymore now that I think about it.
Yeah, they play isolated dates.
Yeah, even when they're on tour,
Yep.
there's 4 days off in between shows. That's not
right.
It's not a tour. It's basically their weekend warriors, just like us.
Yep.
Just with sold out crowds
Yep.
and stadiums fucking full of them.
You know, you mentioned something about bands not coming to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And after I moved here and, you know, started like getting real heavy into covering shows, you know, both for named acts and local shows, one of the venues that I really, really liked was Mill City Night.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, that venue was really cool from a lot of different standpoints, right? But one of the things that I thought was like really, really kind of fun was the fact that in the wintertime, okay, most bands won't come here because of the weather, right? They don't want to drive through the snow. They don't want to like bring the big apparatus, you know, to this area unless it's like a really, really big name act, right? But one of the things I noticed was that the black metal bands, all the black metal bands from like Sweden, Finland, you know, all those would actually show up. And where were they playing? They were playing at Mill City Nights.
Yeah.
You know, and it was the coolest thing because now you've got like this whole different genre showing up, you know, and definitely a different crowd showing up in the middle of winter, you know, and in February when we're in a hard freeze, they're eating that up because it's just like home, you know, it's just like being in Finland or Sweden at the time, right?
Yeah.
And of course,
it's not a big deal to them.
Yeah, and of course that venue has gone away, and now those bands don't show up here that much anymore.
Yeah, I fucking I was reading an article about that venue. They have a weird story.
Really?
Yeah, it was called the Brick.
Yep.
The whole time apparently it was owned by an LA company who owns. It's like a legendary LA company who owns venues, including, I believe, the Whiskey.
Interesting.
So I think, but don't quote me on what it is, but it's something like that. Maybe
Right.
It's not the Whiskey, but it's like that. They're very well known.
Right.
It was the Brick, and then it just was like it sucked for some reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they changed the name to Mill City Nights, and I went and seen a couple concerts there. I thought the place was cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they struggled to bring people in, but then they changed the name again, I believe, to the Fillmore.
Oh no! Well, the Fillmore's a brand new place.
Well, I think it is now, but I'm pretty sure.
Didn't they call it like Minnesota Music something? I'm trying to remember.
Well, the Minnesota Music Cafe is in St. Paul.
Yep.
And then there's like the Underground Music Cafe or some shit, but that's definitely not it. I swear it went from like the Brick to Mill City Nights to the Fillmore or something like that.
Something like that.
They changed their name again, but I just don't like what. I liked that venue.
Yep.
What the fuck happened there?
I don't know. I don't know if it was like, if it's a cost thing. I mean, because it's right in the middle of the warehouse district, right downtown. So, I mean, to me, it was really easy to get to. It was very, very convenient to get to. It had, you know, parking was not bad at all. I mean, it was all ramp parking anyway, but it wasn't bad at all. The venue itself was good size. It had the upstairs and it had the downstairs. Had bars, you know, on the upstairs area, and then of course in the basement area. They literally had 2 stages, you know, and the basement area had a stage by itself. I don't know. It was just a cool venue, you know, and
I mean, I suppose it's like any other venue, right? They just can't get people to come out or whatever.
Yep.
Why do you think that is, man? I've been struggling with that for a while.
Why venues can't get like butts in the seat?
Yeah, and just for the sake of argument, pretend COVID never happened, right? Because it
Yeah.
was a problem way before that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering is it just the fact that the bands aren't that good?
I don't think
because
so.
I don't think so, and especially in this town, I think the smoking ban did not help.
Right.
Because I think we saw a direct contrast
Right.
between the amount of people that would go out to a show and the people that were like, fuck.
Right.
It was literally overnight with the smoking ban.
Right.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck, when was that? Like 2004?
Yeah, I think so. That's when a lot of it like went really haywire.
And it was like pretty much overnight.
Mm-hmm.
The smoking ban hit, and God, because I swear to God, bands were drawing, well, not bands, but like a 4-band bill was drawn like 1,000, 1,500 people.
Mm-hmm.
They'd sell out Star Central, no problem. That was like a regular thing.
Right.
They'd sell out The Rock. Those are like, I think legally they were like $888.
Mm-hmm.
But they'd fucking sell 1,200 tickets to those things. They overpacked it, especially Star Central, because they had that overflow room. Fucking was First Ave like 3,500? No.
No, I think they're
it's like
less than that.
1,500. It's like 1,500 people. But that'd be sold out with local bands. And then all of a sudden that fucking smoking ban hit, and it was like 500 people is the best you can do.
Right.
Is anybody even drawn more? Did you go to the Skywine show recently?
No.
Dude, it was Skywine and Stormbreaker at the Doghouse, and they actually drew pretty fucking well. I was actually really impressed.
The Doghouse is kind of that hidden gem, I think. You know,
if anybody doesn't, they used to be The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking. So it's 888. I'd say they had 500 people in there.
It's kind of an interesting layout, right? It's just kind of wide open.
Yeah, the only thing wrong with it are those poles in the middle of the floor, but
are the poles still there?
Yeah. I mean, they're load bearing.
Right.
They'll never go anywhere. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I don't think there's anything you could do about it unless you flipped the room and put the stage against the north wall.
Yeah.
In between the pillars.
That's the same type of thing at the Caboose, right? They have the pillars and.
Do they?
Yeah, they've got like pillars set up behind the pillars are like in front of the seat. They have that little raised area where the seats are.
Oh, you're right.
So it depends on.
They were kind of smart and strategic about it, right?
Yeah.
They like put the stage so there's not one directly in your sight line when you're on the floor. You got to be back further. But they also have that elevated spot up above.
Yeah, I've heard though that they're going to do a refurb.
Interesting.
And they're actually going to move the stage to, you know, where that overhang is right now, that upstairs, the quote upstairs area.
Yeah.
That's going to go away, and the stage is actually going to go in that area, so that they truly have a load in, load out area. That's, you know, because I don't know how many people. Have you ever seen people play pool there? They have 2 pool tables, but I've never seen anybody play pool.
No. The coolest thing about the Caboose is that outdoor stage they have.
Yep.
When they get that fucking thing rolling, dude.
Yep.
Those are fucking cool.
Yep. That's all rumor, though. I don't know if that's fact or fiction.
Yeah.
You know, if that's really going to happen. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice to have like a normal stage, something that's straight and not kind of weird, kind of in the corner type of thing.
So what are you working on right now, dude?
Oh, a lot of different little things.
Anything you're super excited about?
Yeah, so you know, I've been doing a lot of portrait work. So I have a studio. It's in my basement, but I say that, and it's like it's not a little area. It's like 16 by 24 space, and you know 10-foot ceilings. So it's got a good amount of space that I can work with. I got a little lounge area, so on. But I've been doing like a lot of like little projects. So I really like horror genre and horror themes. So anything that's like sick and disgusting, I'll probably want to shoot it. Right?
Nice. What draws you to that shit? Because you've mentioned this and alluded to this a couple times, like the death metal, the black metal.
Yeah.
What is it about the dark side of the music that you love so much?
You know, it's That's a great question. I think it's because it has a little bit more thematic element to it.
Oh, okay.
There's definitely, I mean, death metal. I mean, I love death metal, and I'll go to that and listen all day. Black metal always has like this certain aura about it, that it's kind of mystical, and it's kind of a mystery, and there's different emotional aspects to it as well, and it also elicits a very different crowd.
Yeah.
But a lot of the portraits and everything that I've been doing, typically have, they're like situational type of portraits. So, for example, they'll have either, fog in them. I'll use different mediums. So a lot of like stage blood. I've had people bring in, like calf hearts, and stuff like that. And I'm probably.
Did you work with the Reaping Boys?
I haven't. I not on portraits. I've shot them live before.
Because man, that sounds exactly like some shit fucking Stephen Lane's doing in their videos that they shoot together. Man, that shit is fucking they're bringing in fucking ox heads and fucking Oh man, y'all are fucking crazy, man. I mean, I'm a pretty crazy dude, but that shit is another level of crazy. Y'all are fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, and anyone that's and of course, if you have people on your follow that are PETA people or anything, they're gonna hate all this, right? But there is no like animal abuse or anything like that goes on there. In fact,
there's no animal abuse. These ox have been dead.
Yeah. Well, I actually had a model in that she brought. She actually found a place locally that sold calf hearts for like student dissection work. So she actually bought these, soaked them in water, because to get the formaldehyde off, because you don't want toxic stuff. And then we brought them and we put them in a little vat, and I poured stage blood on, and we just bathed them in that, and they
we bathed them in the blood.
it looked pretty nasty,
That's awesome.
But it was great. It made for great portraits. And I just like dealing with that whole horror genre, whether it's classic horror, trying to recreate a scene, or if it's something that's like totally off the top of my head. I had an idea at one point to do a whole photo series, with the title of the darkness of death becomes her. And it was just all these like basically corpse painted models that would work with, either they could have blood on them if they wanted to, they didn't have to have blood, they could be in witch clothes or not witch clothes, or whatever. It was just more around the corpse painting,
right?
And corpse painting, there's so much variety to it, right? Basically, I provided white face and then black makeup, and they could create whatever they wanted to. So whatever they created is what we shot.
Cool.
So it was fun.
If people want to check any of this out, I do have the link to your website in the description. So you guys, if you're interested in seeing any of the stuff that he's talking about, whatever you have on your website, that's in the description. Because I glanced at the website just to make sure I had the address right. And I like the website. It's really nice. It's really easy to figure out what's going on really fast. That's a big thing for me, is like, can I navigate this motherfucker quickly and easily? I don't want to think. And you've got a lot of shit on there, man. And like, it got broken down into categories and shit. Pretty cool. Pretty fucking impressive, dude.
Most of the stuff on the site is pretty neutral. I kind of keep the really extreme things, to I would say it's more PG.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There are definitely some things
that PC or PG at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
They're kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah. So I try and keep it kind of neutral, because there are some photos that that I've shot where we've done like horror themed and kind of that classic slasher type of thing. And it came from a model that said, look, I want to do a slasher type of photo shoot, but I want to be the victim. And I've never heard a model tell me that. So I was I'm like, well, I started to get really inquisitive. What do you mean by victim? Tell me what you're thinking. So she kind of laid out, this kind of 80s horror, kind of the whole Friday the 13th type of look and feel.
That's crazy.
Where you have kind of this Jason figure, and she's the victim. She was the
that
one.
Bitch has definitely got a rape fantasy thing going on, dude. I'm just saying, man. That's a twisted girl with some serious issues.
But you should the photos that that came out of that.
I'm sorry, dude. I can't help it.
The photos that came out of that were pretty disturbing, actually.
I bet. I'm not surprised at all, Dave.
It was funny because, again, I don't. The one thing I always have to say, whether the model has clothes on or clothes off, I actually really don't notice. It's art to me, and I look at it.
I somehow do believe you.
Yeah,
I'm not being sarcastic.
I look at it as like, well, what are we creating? We're creating this whole scenario, or this dramatic element. So some of the photos that came out of that kind of 80s horror themed shoot were actually really disturbing. And when I showed my wife, I'm like, well, here's the shots, and she's a horror lover as well. She loves horror movies.
The way you say horror, it's horror.
Yeah.
So you just keep. My wife is a horror lover as well. Yeah. My wife and I are serious lovers of the horrors.
That's spelled with an H, not a W, right? Yeah. So when I showed her the photos, she was like, "Yeah, I don't know if you should post these." And that was like one of the first times. That was one of the first times that she's actually said that to me. And I said, understand what she's like. Yeah, I understand what your intent was. I understand the art, and I understand, the element behind it. But I don't think everyone else will. And I'm like, okay, well,
And our wives usually know best.
Yeah.
I'm married. But I have to be the guy who's like, you know what though, man? There's two options. Either you just put them out there because that's exactly why they should be posted.
Yep.
Is that risk factor? That's what the real art is. And or put it behind a paywall.
Yep.
Put it behind like a subscribed Patreon or something like that, where that's what people are looking for, is like the crazy shit you can't post online.
Right.
Monetize it, man. Fucking. But so she's probably right. I'm not actually arguing with your wife, but that's immediately where my mind went. Like,
I did actually post a couple of photos from that shoot that were a little bit more mild, but they were still pretty graphic.
She's probably right though, man. She's probably trying to prevent you from getting canceled, dude.
Yeah,
which seems like it's getting easier and easier to do.
Well,
because they'll go back. Like you might not get canceled for posting them. You might get canceled 10 years from now because people found them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, the one thing that she mentioned and that kind of cued in my head was that it comes across as like almost like victimization, right? And that's definitely not in my wheelhouse to show. I mean, I've shot male models and female models. I don't have preference on either sex type or actually body type. I'll shoot everyone. Doesn't matter. But yeah, she said, it comes across as a victim.
Got a little bit of a rapey vibe.
Yeah, she said, it's got this definite slasher element. There's a lot of blood in it. There's like throat cutting, all this stuff that, I bought meat hooks for this thing, and
I can see what she's getting at, and I keep using the comparison to the rape thing because that's a legit deal. Like, oh, you're contributing to rape culture and victimization and nah. Mm-hmm. Like that's fucking some dangerous shit, even in art.
Yeah,
I mean, you get even close to it. Yep. And dude, do you remember the Bud Light campaign? Up for whatever.
Oh yeah.
They canceled that because a couple people complained. They're like, it's got kind of a rapey vibe, man.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh shit, like that. And you guys, like you said, you bought meat hooks and there's blood everywhere. And, yeah, because it's like that old adage. We could explain that it was her idea and it's art, but that's an expensive conversation to have. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't willing to listen either.
So I mean,
what's the point?
The model herself actually got the photos, and you know, she's actually shared some out. But to me, that's her choice as to her sharing those type of photos, and it's fine. There was nothing there was nothing sexual about it. There was no skin or anything that that would imply that type of
somebody would figure out a way to make it sexual.
It was more slasher.
Motherfuckers jack off the feet, bro. Come on, dude. Somebody will find it. There's fucking weirdos, dude. I'm not trying to shit on your story. I'm just saying, like, trust me, somebody will find something. They'll fucking. What are the numbers? It's shockingly high. It's like 5 out of 100 or something like that. Dudes have a foot fetish or some weird shit like that.
Yep.
Like that means there's a couple of y'all right now watching this.
Yeah, I mean, I always make people feel very comfortable in the studio, and there's just very, I don't work under a lot of like contract and condition and stuff like that. It's like, look, if you're hiring me to do a project with you, and it involves, you want to, I don't know, if you want to have feathers, I'm not going to get offended. All
right,
I'll shoot it.
Photo shoot I want.
Yeah, it's like I'll shoot it.
I want feathers coming out of my ass.
Well, again,
and on my cheeks, I'm going to have Travis Doherty tattoo. It's going to be black and gray, but 2 very realistic looking nipples, one on each butt cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to take a picture of that, but I'm going to have feathers coming out of my ass. And that's going to be my album cover.
There you go.
Art.
There you go. There you go. If you want to hire me to shoot that, I will shoot that.
It's fucking funny is what it is. Because it doesn't make any sense. And all I want is for people to go, are the feathers supposed to be a nose? And are those nipples or eyes?
What's that brown stuff?
Art.
What's that brown stuff on the feathers? I don't understand.
Or maybe tape them. Yeah. Tape them to my lower back. Like, is that a tail?
Yeah, and
then it's got to be in black and white photo.
Yep. I've had models come in and they want to do like the whole carry, kind of carry element, in horror, where they're literally just doused in stage blood, and it works. We make it work.
That's got to almost, to you, what are the ideas that almost seem like annoying? Like they're cliche, they're overdone. Like fucking that one. Like, just dump a bunch of blood on me and take pictures.
Yeah,
like,
it's
how many of those can you do before you're like, pass? And don't be literal with that blood example, but
yeah. Are you asking how many I've done like that, or
like what are some good examples of cliche overdone shit in photo shoots like that, where people come to you with an idea and you're just like, nah, I ain't doing that?
I'll definitely pick on the holidays. The whole, we have to be in the same pajama. So husband, wife, maybe family, or it could be a model in this case. They have to wear like matching pajamas. It's just overdone. How many photos are out there right now? Everyone in the family's got the footsie pajamas on, all that stuff, and they all have ho 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 on them. They all have candy cane. Everything's got to match. To me, that's just way overdone.
Yeah.
Fall time is usually, picking up leaves and throwing the leaves in the air, and having doing the raining leaves. That's a little overdone. I mean, I'll do it. I do a different spin to it, so it's not as, you know, kind of, it's a little bit more unique than just like, oh, let's throw fleas in the air. You know, people want like, you know, oh, I want to take pictures on a day that it's snowing. Okay, do they realize that days that it's snowing is really not a really great day to look? You know, the sky's typically gray, and it's just not a great appeal.
Well, yeah, but you can just fix that in Photoshop, bro.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, some of that's true. Some of it's not true. It's like, you know, I don't mind taking photos of people.
Well, plus it's like you want to do it when it's snowing. It's like, where? It doesn't snow everywhere at the same time.
Right.
Am I coming to you or are you coming to me?
Right.
Like, is this going to be at fucking 8 a.m. or 4 p.m.?
Well, yeah, I actually,
because here in Minnesota, shit, now it's fucking dark at 4 or 5 o'clock.
4 o'clock, yeah.
Like dark. Not the sun went down. Yep. I'm saying like it's nighttime at 4 or 5 p.m.
Yep.
So we you know what I mean? It's like, how do you nail that down? It might go a month without snowing, and then it snows really crazy starting at midnight, and it ends at 9 in the morning. When are we meeting? Is that at 5 a.m. or at 8 a.m.?
Right.
Like, how much snow?
Yeah, you know, I actually had a model reach out to me to do kind of a promo video with her, right? To do like some modeling videos and things like that. And she wants to do one where on a day that's snowing. And I said, sure, we can plan that. You have to be available though on the day that it's snowing. And, you know, we have to coordinate really quickly.
Yeah.
So we're still waiting for it to kind of, today was not a good day. But, you know, we had to kind of coordinate.
And it didn't really snow.
Not yet, at least. No.
Like, at least here. Yep. Maybe it did somewhere else in the state of Minnesota. Yep. But that's what I was getting at earlier. One I remember for sure that stood out to me was bands doing group photos, brick walls, and staircases.
Yeah.
It's like the trademark for like local band.
Yeah.
Starting out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's all go sit on the steps.
Or the straight line shots, you know, where they're all like, it's like literally like victim lineup type of thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
You know, who's the serial killer? You know, which one are they? I think there's a little bit more dimension than that, you know, needs to come out in photos.
I wouldn't mind just straight up mug shots though, like for inside of an album. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like straight up, like, not literally go get arrested, but take fucking... It probably would take a lot of work to make them look that shitty, too, because those are bad photos. Like, the lighting is not good. Like,
right. You're talking about the front and then side, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then they've got the... You know, and then you just put the guy's name in his instrument, you know.
Right, the little name tag or whatever, the little name board.
Yeah. Dude, I think that'd be a cool... It just for like an album, but
it'd work for like inside an album.
Yeah,
but
in the
like
sleeve
for promo shots. For promo shots,
I mean, that actually would be hilarious. And it's not a real mugshot. So you went out of your way to do that.
That's funny.
That is so fucking hilarious, dude. Now I want to do that desperately for the next set of promo shots I do. I want to
have you seen this band?
Like skip the wanted poster and go straight to the he's already gotten arrested. Oh my god.
Orange jumpsuits, everything, the whole bit.
Genius. Fucking genius.
Or like those, you know, those like movie star shots where, you know, here's Nick Nolte arrested DUI, and he's like,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. And when people find out it's not a real mugshot, that's the joke. That's why it's funny, because dude went out of his way to recreate that, which takes a lot of work. Like, it's such a stupid idea. It's actually fucking genius, dude. And you, like you said, like, that wouldn't be a good promo photo. It actually kind of would. That would be hysterical. Oh my God.
I've seen, like, I saw, I remember there was a country album that had that, like, on the cover.
Fuck.
You know, it was like an old wanted poster.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I don't know, Willie Nelson or you know, Hank Williams, or maybe it was even Waylon Jennings. One of those artists had one.
Oh my God. That is so fucking funny. That's genius, dude. I have to take a leak. I have to piss. Let's take a quick break. I'm gonna play for these guys. Well, I guess for you too.
Yep.
It's actually one of my tunes.
Oh,
it's
cool.
not the intro. What are we trying to do here? It's been a while. Boom, here we go. All right, this is one of my tunes. It will be on the album eventually. Part of the 10-year plan.
The 10-year plan.
It's not that heavy.
That could be the name of the album, actually. The 10-year plan.
It's funny you say that, because that's nothing even remotely close to what the name is, but it is super close to something that inspired this whole idea. It's like the 9-year flood or some shit like that. Hilarious.
You call it the 9-year floater. Just have a big turd in the...
I was just gonna say, are we talking about turds? Jeremy Blake is like, I instantly got erect. Did we bring up turds? All right. You know Jeremy Blake, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a fucking goofball. I love that son of a bitch. All right, I'm gonna play the song. I gotta take a leak. You want something to drink? You still got tea?
No,
I'm
good.
I'm gonna grab something to drink too.
I probably need to use the restroom.
Revolution without dancing is a revolution not worth having.
She's a little closer now, get higher when I think about it. She's a little closer now. I get higher. She's a little closer now. My hands in front of her to be the man, to be the whore. You know what this hatching's for. This is what you think you want. Oh, good luck, don't blow it up. I think you're broken up and torn. Just don't call me your boy. Hey, I get the feeling they're listening through the ceiling, trying to picture who we are and what we've done and just how far we're gonna take it tonight. We're gonna make it, we'll be alright. 'Cause I can see tomorrow when I won't feel so borrowed. She's a
There we go. Yeah, I used to be. I always had a chip on my shoulder. Now I don't. So I don't know. Got burnt out, but yeah. Hope you guys dig it.
Yep.
Are you still doing shit with Will
I am. Yep.
over at 1459?
Yeah, I think when the opportunities come up, yep, we still kind of jump into it.
So whose idea was that to do the video stuff over there? Was that yours or his?
Well, actually, I kind of approached Will about the idea of, with COVID kind of taking over our lives, right? To kind of keep music in front of, live music in front of people, because nobody was going to shows at that point, right? Everything was like shut down, dormant, just wasn't happening. It wasn't in the cards. So, I just approached Will and said, hey, well, what if we set up like an area to, to shoot bands and have bands come in, and they could be, for all intents and purposes, they could be COVID safe. We could split them up if needed, but let's shoot that. You record the sound, so it's audio. The audio is like studio quality audio, but it's a live take. And so we kind of milled on it back and forth, and finally came up with the idea that, well, we probably could just leverage the studio, his recording studio, to shoot these. So we put together the whole idea of, having bands come in, and we start off with like 3 songs. If they want to do more, fine. It's just X amount more, for, per song over 3. And, out of it, they get the audio, which they can use on an EP if they really wanted to. Or they could engage with Will to do, cleanups or things like that on the recording side if they wanted to like recut, certain things, but knowing that everything is kind of blended together, right?
Yeah.
And then, they also get video out of it. They get 3 separate videos of each of, one of each of the songs. And it's all multi-camera takes. So there's typically about 4 or 5 cameras in there. So it's all in this little studio space. And, we set up something that's like very wide angle and put elements to it. We've had pretty extreme measures, right? Of like, we had Impaler come in, and it wasn't just like,
I seen that one.
Impaler acoustic set. It was like Impaler full bore Impaler.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking all their stage stuff, everything. We had pillars in there. Dude, it was crazy.
It is crazy.
And there were like 7 people in that room.
Yeah.
And it's, the studio space is good size, but it's not when you get like lights and cameras and all that stuff in there. But we did it. We had Impaler in there.
Have you thought about doing that like at a venue?
I'd love to do it at a venue.
Because
Will and I actually have talked about that.
And Chili and I are throwing around an idea too.
Yep.
Of doing a version of our podcast.
Yep.
At a venue.
That'd be fun.
And then flipping it to where we basically do like probably an hour of us. Essentially think of it like when doors open, right?
Yep.
Doors open, we start a podcast, and then we introduce the first band, and we hit that button just like I do here, and it flips, and boom, we're on stage.
Yep.
Or not we're on stage, the band's on stage.
Yep.
And we go. And then during changeover, it just flips back to us.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
He said he's down.
Yep.
We got it's all about, for me in that situation, and him and I both agree on this. We disagree as to which venue it is, but we both agree that it has to be the right venue.
Right.
He wants to do something smaller. I don't care how big it is.
Yep.
Because it's like, to me, it's really about the layout of the room. Like, where would we be sitting?
Right.
And I don't care. I don't care if we're off to the side of the stage or if we're at the other end of the room. I don't give a shit. It's just, does it work? Does it make sense?
Right.
Does it feel right?
So you're talking about actually streaming.
Yeah, I think it would make sense to stream it.
Yep.
I really do.
The only thing,
I really do.
The only thing there is, you know, and I think the reason why, because Will and I talked about doing like streaming, you know, and actually streaming these bands coming in and, you know, doing their thing. And we actually went against it because there's just in some ways there's a lot of technical element to it that we just didn't want to take on. And I think quite honestly they're getting a really good product. You know, they're getting the video, they're getting the audio, you know. I mean, Will's doing a great job at mastering the sound. You know, they're getting a viable product that's literally something that they can take once it's delivered to them. They could actually take it and put it on their YouTube and release it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, the motivations are very different for sure. Because I think, and I don't think I would want to do it super regularly. Like Greg and I were talking about it. I was like, dude, I think we do it once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a real event.
Right.
We book the bands. And I was trying to figure out a way to, and I still think in its core this is a good idea, where we can build more of a, like an actual event, you know, so it's not just these 4 bands, right? And it's still, to me, it's all about finding the right venue. Because we could, in theory, just record it and upload it. But if we're somehow able to stream it live, we have the ability to turn around a night in the night. Like, think about it. How many times has there not been a lot of people at a show?
Right.
And you're like, fuck. You know? Like, and almost never does it turn around unless the headlining band has got one of those fan bases that they show up, and you know what I'm talking about, because that's happened a lot too, where it's a dead night. Halfway through the supporting acts, the direct support, all of a sudden, boom, 500 people show up.
Yep. Headliner
has a great night. It's like, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? But that's not how it usually goes. Most of the time, you know, it's a dead night. You're like, fuck, this is done. But if you're streaming, you have the ability where people are like, dude, this is fucking dope. Like, fuck that. I'm going. Like, I still got time. I think you could do that. And I think it would help promote the scene. I think it would help promote whatever venue, obviously, the bands. And it would become more of an event. And you just don't do it all the time. You can't do it every Friday night or every Saturday night. It's got to be something really rare. Like at most, like once a month. You do it, I'm just worried if you do it less than once a month, like once every 3 months, then it's like confusing. Like, what is it?
Right.
It's got to be like semi sort of regular. I think once a month would be good.
Yeah, I think
one Saturday night.
I think if you had all the technical elements, you know, in line, and everything was able to produce, you know, a very solid connected event, I think it'd be great. It would definitely fill a void that, you know, isn't really out there right now, especially in the local scene.
Yeah, I know for a fact there was I think it's the Southern Theater. They were doing a really high-end version of exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
And you could buy online tickets. But that wasn't like an event. That was just a straight-up online show.
Right.
Like, you had... it was pretty sweet how they did it, too.
Right.
That was probably the closest version of what I saw.
Right.
To my idea. But it was almost overproduced.
Right.
Like, I think it needs to be very, very, very well produced, but like, I don't know how to explain it.
It's you're really talking about like live broadcast type of things.
Yeah. Directly to any of our YouTube pages that we want, or doing whatever, you know what I mean?
Yep. I guess it's possible. I mean, I just don't know how the sound quality would be, because that's the one thing that typically suffers.
Yeah.
Is the sound. And quite honestly, if I'm sitting there watching something and all of a sudden, you know, it's garbage sound, it's like, what's the point in watching this? You can't hear anything. You can't.
Yeah.
You're not feeling it.
Yeah, I know the biggest challenge, and I've heard this because I've had dudes on the podcast before. I've talked to Wally about this in depth, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mix things dramatically different for TV or whatever.
Yep.
And my boy Stephen Lane from Reaping, actually, him and I were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, the trick is you have 2 boards and 2 feeds, and you have 2 sound guys. That's how you do it. So
right.
you have the main thing that's happening, and then you have all that run back out one more time to a second board, and that is mixed differently.
Right.
And that's what goes into the stream. And you got to have a sound guy that understands he's not mixing to the room. He's mixing
right.
to nothingness, just like.
Well, then you start to make things a little bit more complicated as well with like
part of the reason I bought this fucker.
Right, multiple video streams as well. Then you're having like live editing.
Yeah, I mean, some of that you can automate, like what I have here. Like OBS is pretty impressive.
Yep.
I think the biggest thing is logistics. Like, I think the actual technical aspects have been kind of the piece in the pandemic basically made this happen. Because Blackmagic Design has the A10 minis.
Yep.
You can use that if you need to. There's a lot of shit, dude, where even Elgato has a new card, a new graphics card. It takes 4 HDMIs, and each one can be identified as its own source in here. So you can get into automated scene switching. I think the logistical layout of the venue has to be perfect. Like that's really what's holding me back from the whole thing. It's like none of them are right. Like it'd be fucking weird. And then number 2 is their fucking internet connection's gotta be baller.
Yep.
Like, cause we need a lot of bandwidth going up. Yep. In order to put on a decent show. And then it's really more of a hardware issue. Somebody's gotta have a fucking beast mode of a laptop. Yep. Or 2 to pull all that off, because I think the cameras are out there, like within our group of people we knew or know. We could probably put together most of that shit, but I think a lot of the technical stuff has been fixed. It's literally just either money.
Yeah. It always comes up to that.
Yeah, right? I know, right? But I mean, we all make these investments anyways.
Yep.
I think it would be fucking dope. I think it would be really fucking dope, especially if we only did it like once a month.
Yep.
I think it'd be fucking cool. But the band's got to do their part too.
Oh, definitely.
They got to draw, because the venue's got to still make money.
Yep.
But if you pulled it off right, I think it would be fucking cool. And I think it definitely would be worth it.
Oh, definitely.
What other projects you got going on video wise?
Video wise, actually working on kind of a number of things. I've got music videos that I've shot and are still in edit, so I'm doing edits on those. I've got some screenplay and kind of some film work that I'm doing. I'm working on kind of a short film. And I say short, but it'll probably end up being, the hour and a half type of film.
That's not a short film.
Yeah.
I think anything
I'm going to start with the short and then kind
isn't
of build
anything
it from there.
past 60 a feature technically?
I think technically yes. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So there's actually some stuff that I'm working on. I want to.
You're working on a feature length film, my boy.
Yeah. I mean. Again, I'm going to start with a short. I'm going to start with it being a short and then probably build it out from there.
Are you writing the story?
Yeah. So it's definitely in the horror genre. I don't want to kind of like give too much away on it.
You love horrors, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You and your horrors fetish.
Yeah. And that's H-O, right? That's not W-H. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for anyone that's going to horror.
Horror. Yes. So yeah, I'm working on that. I'm also doing some I would say some consulting with someone that's working on a film for Amazon Prime, and doing some kind of story building there, and editing work, and things like that. So yeah, it's coming along. It's slowly but surely. Yeah, I'd like to do a few more, a few more music videos. There's a couple bands that I've worked with. One was a lot more cinematic.
I hope you're not offended, and I hope everybody understands why I can't play any of these, because you don't own the rights to the music. So even if you've gotten permission to share that, there's no fucking way I can make an articulate case to YouTube that in any way, shape, or form those rights transfer to me somehow.
Right.
Because you're not the artist who's in the... Because they're not going to flag the video. They flag the music in the video. You see it? So I'm like, I can't. It sucks. If you guys want to see any of this, though, do you have any of your music videos on your website?
Yeah. Actually, they're on the website, and then I've got a YouTube channel as well.
Links in the description. I wish we could play that shit, but yeah. Yep. I have a hard enough time getting YouTube to approve the musicians when they bring on the video.
Yeah. I mean, even if you use what's considered, public domain or license free type use. Fair use type of stuff, it still gets flagged. So I think the only solution is what Vimeo is probably the only one that doesn't flag stuff, right?
I think so. Yeah. I'm new to Twitch. It'll be really interesting to see what happens on the Twitch side of things.
Yeah, how does that work? Because if artists do their own thing out there, and they're basically putting their music out there that potentially is going to come up and get flagged.
My boy Joey Moya.
Yep,
he's on Twitch here. Sweaty Pedals. He actually does like gaming and shit, which I'm gonna fuck around. That's kind of one of the reasons we're doing the Twitch thing now. He plays his own music, Uncle Daddy.
Okay,
the band Uncle Daddy. Those guys are fucking amazing, by the way. And I think he told me he gets flagged on every podcast for his own music.
Nice.
And I think it's like DistroKid or CD. It's one of those digital distribution sites. That's one of the services they provide, is they scrub the internet to make sure nobody's ripping you off. And that's all I want. All I want from YouTube, and I'm hoping Twitch will give it to me too, is all I want is the ability to preemptively show or claim that I have rights or access to play this music.
Right.
So if the artist comes on, hey, I want to play this video, cool. Whether it's 5 minutes before or an hour before or 24 hours, I should be able to submit that music video and be in like, hey, here's the deal. This artist who wrote this song and has the rights is coming on my podcast to play this.
Yep.
Or if you're a streamer, hey, I've gotten the rights from these artists. And if they want proof, technically, I got to get it in writing, right?
Right.
But I think it'd really help out the smaller people, like me, that get flagged on the fucking, like the random ones. It's so weird, dude. And it's not the end of the world until you are monetized.
Right.
Because it can take up to 30 days to get it fixed.
Right.
Well, that's when most of your videos are going to do well, is in their first month. So you just took all my money.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Yeah, so I mean, some of the music videos I've done have kind of a cinematic element to them. I think the first one I worked on with Wolf Mask, which is a local band. That was we did a music video for their song "The Old Way with a Sledge." And if you're familiar with their
is it Wolf Mask?
Yes.
It's not Wolf Mask.
Well, it's two V's, so yes.
Because there's Wolfpack.
Wolfpack?
Have you ever seen that? I don't know. They're not very heavy. You might not dig them. They're like super fucking progressive jazz. Fucking, I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but they're dope. But I've wanted to know that. So it's Wolfpack.
Wolf Mask.
Wolf Mask. Sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wolf Mask.
Yep.
Isn't that fucking John Wheeler's old band?
You're thinking of My Zero.
Yeah, so
John Wheeler was in My Zero.
Yeah, and so when Wheeler left, didn't they change and become... So isn't it essentially a group of guys that were originally in My Zero?
Yes, actually all of the guys, except for John, I should say the opposite. The guys that were in Wolf Mask were part of My Zero.
Okay, so I'm not making that up. Okay, so I did hear that correctly from somewhere randomly.
Yep.
Because I've never heard or seen Wolf Mask. I've never heard their music. I've never seen them. I like to, especially now, I like to just try to like see the band live before I sit there and listen to their music.
Yep.
Especially because very little bands are able to capture their sound on record nowadays. So it's like, I really don't want to listen to your music and stream it. I want to go see you live. And then if you're dope, then I'll deal with the fact that this record doesn't actually really sound like you.
The nice thing is that they sound exactly like they do on the album.
Do they?
Yep. They use the same, so they use a lot of like audio tracks from like different parts of movies, like quotes from movies, anything from Ghostbusters to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They all have kind of this horror theme element, or this element to them.
The horrors, man.
Yep. Horror.
Yes.
I have to work on my enunciation. Yeah. So
I wonder if I'm gonna get flagged by the algorithm for that. If they're gonna actually think that we're talking about W's, not H's.
The WH. Yes.
I wonder. I'm curious about that. That might happen.
I'll try to be a little bit more conscious.
I don't think it can happen on Twitch because I think my thing is set for mature audiences only. But YouTube, sometimes they'll do that, dude.
Right.
Like I've heard people get flagged because they're talking about, fucking some dude who,
Oh.
And they use the word, the S word, right? And that'll get you flagged, right? Or shadow banned or whatever. And I just wonder how much of that's real.
Right.
And I've been joking around with it, but
I've been lucky. On like Instagram, for example, I've posted some things where models look like they're cutting and things like that, but I always put like a little disclaimer in there saying
where it's graphic or whatever.
Yeah, I always put a little disclaimer in there saying, no models were hurt. This is not, this is an artistic interpretation of, whatever. But it never have I ever done like, oh, I want to do a photo series on suicide, because that's not something that I would be interested in.
There's that S word. There's that S word.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't actually give a shit because I'm pretty sure I've been shadow banned from day one. I mean, we talk about some crazy shit. We've done some crazy shit on this fucking podcast, dude. Like for real, like Greg's is reserved compared to mine, dude. Like that's why I like these daytime ones, because they're super chill, dude. But some of these guys come on and we party, and it gets fucking weird. some of the shit we have said and done on this podcast, it's definitely going to come back to haunt me eventually.
Or in the words of Timothy Leary, things get real.
Yeah, things get weird. Things get real. Things get real weird.
Yep.
No, I'm just saying we talked about all that shit, so I don't really actually care.
Right.
If we get flagged for it. But no, I've heard that where it's like, they even come up with like code words. So instead of being like, oh, that person killed themselves, they'll be like, oh, that person deleted themselves. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, and yeah, they self-deleted. That's what it is. Oh, he deleted him, and then this person self-deleted. That's
George Carlin had a thing about that, right? The different words that we use,
Yeah, and then you just arbitrarily pick which ones are offensive.
Right. So we don't have to worry about things because we're going to expire.
Here's my favorite one. Here's my favorite one right now. And I get it if you seriously had to have like one of those crazy high profile jobs and you needed a secret code for it for some reason.
Right.
But do you know the Let's Go Brandon thing?
No.
It's so dumb. It's kind of amazing, right? So it's code for fuck Joe Biden.
Okay.
And how this happened is some kid named Brandon something won his first NASCAR race or whatever. And there was this trend going around at the time where fans at sporting events, college football, all over the place, were chanting, "Fuck Joe Biden, clap, dun, 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 fuck Joe Biden." And this reporter who's interviewing this kid, Brandon, I don't know if she was trying to spin it or if she legitimately misheard the chanters. But she goes, "Well, and the fans are here saying, 'Let's go, Brandon.' How's that feel?" And the kid just kind of like blew her off and just gave it one of those cliche sports answers. But that shit went viral on the internet, right? Like this poor reporter, because it could have been a brilliant deflection, you know, where she's like, "Oh, I don't think they can really hear that through the mic. And they just hear this chant. I'm going to spin it as 'Let's go, Brandon.'" Or if she really thought they were chanting 'Let's go, Brandon.' I don't know. But that shit went viral, dude, and it became a joke. And so now people are saying, "Let's go, Brandon." And I'm like, why don't you just say "fuck Joe Biden"? Like you were...
What's the point?
Just say "fuck Joe Biden." Like, what the fuck, man?
Right.
Like, unless you were like... Unless you had a job where you can't go around saying "fuck Joe Biden," "fuck Donald Trump," whatever,
right?
Because that shit'll get you fired. But the point is as soon as it was uncovered that that's what "Let's go, Brandon" means, people were saying it and they were getting fired for it. See what I'm saying? So you might, dude, if you're gonna get fired for saying "Let's go, Brandon," you should get fired for saying "fuck Joe Biden."
Right.
You see what I'm getting at? Because all you did
right.
is just created 3 more words to say the same 3 words.
What if
self-delete.
What if you're at a soccer game, right, and you're watching your kid, and your kid's name happens to be Brandon? What do you say? "Let's go, Brandon! Come on, let's go!" You know, I mean, people are going to be catching this stuff on YouTube and TikTok and so on. It's going to be like the standing joke.
Yeah, I think it was a pilot. They were getting ready to take off, and the pilot addresses everybody, and I think at the end he was like, "Let's go, Brandon." And then hung it up. And somebody did not like it. And he got fired for it, dude. I think it's hilarious that there's actually people trying to, and then there was some senator or a guy from the House of Representatives or some shit. He was like, he had a mask for COVID and it said "Let's go, Brandon" on it. And it's like, again, why not just say "fuck Joe Biden"? Like, if the secret's out that that's what it means, then why are you... It just doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Like that one, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hysterical. Just knowing the actual origin of it.
Right.
God, that's fucking funny though. But yeah, delete, self-delete. As soon as you just arbitrarily pick which words are offensive, people just come up with other words.
Right.
Like, okay, I can't say the R word anymore. Okay. I already know a grip of people that have invented other words. What was the one I heard the other day? Smooth brain. Oh, that's a real smooth brain take on it. And I was like, what does that mean? Somebody was like, dark. And I was like, then why not?
Smooth brain.
Yeah. Which the point is it's like retarded means to prevent progress. Like that's literally the definition of it.
Right. Depends on what context you're using it in, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Because how we use it is blah, 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 right?
It's directed at a person that's...
Yeah, if you're saying... I mean, I don't know. I was called a retard many times. I turned out fine.
Right.
Fine-ish.
Right.
But, no, like I say that shit about ideas all the time. I'm like, that's fucking retarded. People are like, that's offensive. I'm like, why? They're like, because I have a cousin who's mentally ill. I'm like, okay, I'm not talking about your cousin. Right. I'm not talking about mentally ill people. I'm saying that idea is retarded, meaning it's preventing progress or it's slowing progress down. Like that's not a good idea. And it's more than it's not a good idea. That's why we have these words. And so it's kind of just blowing my mind, dude.
Yep.
And luckily, for the most part, Instagram seems to be pretty cool. I've gotten flagged a couple times on Twitter and on Instagram, fucking with my friends. Some of the shit we say to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I got flagged one time. What was it? What did I say? I think I was talking shit to Jason. Jason Reed. You remember Jason Reed from Main Hinge? I think I was talking shit to him because we were playing Red Dead Redemption.
Right.
Online. And I think I was talking shit to him. And I hit submit on something. And I think Instagram was like, this is similar to other things that have been flagged for hate speech. Do you want to continue? And I was like, yep. Because I knew, I'm fucking with my buddy here. I'm talking about fucking killing his horse or some shit like that, or dragging him behind my horse or something like that.
Right.
Can't remember what it was, but it's a cowboy game. Like, you can literally do that. I can fucking lasso you and then drag you behind my horse.
I like riding the horse through town or something, and you go up to people, they're just walking by, and you just go like real close to them and then like side kick them. Just love that. I don't know why. It's just just a fun thing to do. It's like,
there's. I was driving down the road, and it hit me. I was like, man, the shit I do in GTA that I would never do in real life.
Right.
Because like.
Yeah, but you know what? The only thing is that you think that some things are starting to play out. They almost play out like some of those games. And I'm not.
Do you think so?
Keep in mind, I'm not blaming any game whatsoever, because people are responsible for their actions, right?
Yeah. Do you think they are?
I don't know. I just noticed that there's such a level of intensity, that's going on in our society just over in general. And maybe some of it's due to COVID, and we've all been pent up, and it's like a form of release. But there's so many like carjacking, stuff like that are just kind of senseless type of crimes.
Sure.
God,
I never fucking thought of that, because that is exactly how GTA started.
Yep.
Walk up to a car, grab it, go on a joyride.
Red Dead's got so many cool elements to it, though. I mean, the nice thing is that you can play as a good guy. You can play as kind of big. You can be a better character, or you can be like just a criminal the entire time.
I do like that they have that scale.
Yep.
Like, you gotta decide how you want to do that.
I don't know. Have you played the whole game?
Yeah, I beat the story, and then I went online.
Okay.
We had a little community for a while. We had a sweet posse, dude.
So you played as John Marshall, and
yeah, and then
how did your previous character die? Because there's different endings.
I can't remember, right? Dude. I can't remember. Hold on.
You ended up with tuberculosis, right?
Yeah, because you end up as you basically play out a little bit as the kid, right? At the very, very end, you become the kid or something. Fuck, dude. Because I did it when that shit dropped. That was like fucking 3-4 years ago already.
Right.
Maybe I should go back and play that again.
Because there's like 2 or 3 different endings.
Oh, really?
Yep. So there's an element where, you can kind of die at peace. You die of tuberculosis, right? Just naturally. And then there's another element where you get killed.
I think I got killed.
Right.
Maybe not.
And then I think there's 2 ways to be getting killed. There's a stab. I think you can get stabbed, or the other one is shot.
The problem with me is I probably did one of them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I did one of them because I finished the game. But then I watched the YouTubes of the other ones,
right?
So I didn't have to do it twice. And now the memories are so ingrained, I can't remember which one I actually completed. Because being sick sounds familiar.
Yep.
But then being stabbed sounds familiar.
Yep. Did you run across the guy in the...
Being shot doesn't sound familiar, so I'm going to bet it was one of the first 2.
Early in the game, did you steal like the coonskin hat?
I don't think so.
Off the trapper?
I don't think so, no.
So there's this element in the game, right, and I'm probably not going to represent it correctly here, so hopefully nobody gets really upset, but you basically steal this hat off this guy.
It's a side mission?
No, it's actually something that happens in the bar. You start a scuffle with this guy.
Oh, when you get drunk in the bar?
In the bar, and you follow the guy out. The guy leaves. He gets all pissed off, and he's drunk, and he goes out, and you follow him out into the alley. And if you stab the guy or whatnot, you can steal his coonskin hat. Okay, so you have this like really cool kind of Daniel Boone hat, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you go away from the bar, right, and then the saloon, and you come back later on in the game, and you put on that coonskin hat, and you walk in the bar, that guy's there, and he'll come after you. He like you like walk in the door, and he immediately turns around and sees you and starts running towards you, and like will fight you.
That's awesome.
It's the funniest thing because it'll happen like multiple times if you allow it, right? If you put on this hat, it like provokes him. And he gets really upset.
Amazing. Oh God, that's so cool. No, I
just like the fact that I can kick people on my horse.
I remember though playing that video game, and then as soon as I was done with the game, I realized how I basically fucked up the whole game.
Yep.
Because I got so into the story.
Yep.
I blitzed through that, and I was like, no, so I'm gonna do it like I used to do GTA. I'm gonna do this, and then I'll come back and clean up all those cool side missions. What I didn't realize is all the cool fucking mechanics in the game, like the legendary animals, how you get the skins, and then you bring them to the trapper, and you make all that cool shit, and you get all the trinkets. That shit would help you so fucking much early in the game, and by the time I got it, it was useless.
Yep.
Because I was already fucking OP. My character was already maxed out.
Yep.
And yeah, it was also kind of like boring, where it's like that would have been way cooler to do earlier in the game.
Right.
Those fucking legendary animals, dude. I remember the one I remember the most is the fucking bear, dude. Did you get the bear?
Yes.
It was awesome.
You get clawed to death.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was great. I love
it's a fun game. Any of the open world games are just there's just so much to them, and hats off to the people that create them because it's just amazing.
You know what I want to see next? And I'm hoping it's GTA 6. Well, actually, I think I don't know. I don't know which one I would rather see it happen. Red Dead or GTA. But I want them to start overlapping the lore in the cities more. Because I don't know if you remember this, but in GTA 5, I think it is.
Yep.
When you're creating your online character, you can pick one of your ancestors if you do it long enough.
Right.
One of your ancestors can be John Marston. And it affects how your character comes out. And that might have been 4, but I'm pretty sure it was 5. So long story short, they definitely exist. But I want them to take the next GTA and put it in Saint Denis or vice versa. So like the next Red Dead should be in San Andreas.
Right.
But way back then.
Right.
And start overlapping those worlds more.
Right.
Instead of trying to keep them in separate spots. I think that would be cool as fuck.
Right.
Or even, what became Vice City. Actually, Vice City probably wouldn't make sense. But
right.
San Andreas would make a ton of sense. Southern California. Absolutely.
Yep. Be kind of fun.
What else are you playing? As far as games and shit?
I'm not.
These things are like crack.
Yeah, it's like I'm not a huge gamer. I have very little time that I spend playing games. When I do, I typically will, dig in for it. It's a time suck, right? As soon as you sit down, it's like all of a sudden you notice, oh gosh, 4 hours have gone by and I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
I did play Red Dead for quite a while. Played through that, and that was fun. That was like a huge addiction there.
Did you go online?
I did, and I didn't.
It was such bullshit for so long.
Yeah,
dude.
and that's probably when I was online because it was like this goofy crap of, everyone was just killing each other. It's like you started and somebody would kill you.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't fun. So I pulled out of that. I did start playing.
I quit playing because they wouldn't put blackjack online.
Yep.
That's all I wanted to do was go to the fucking stupid bar casino thing and play blackjack with my buddies.
Yep.
That's all I wanted to do in that game. And it's like, fuck it. They have it in GTA. We can do poker online.
Right.
Why can't I play blackjack?
Exactly.
Oh, so fucking mad about
You know,
that.
so I went from Red Dead to Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh,
played
shit.
that. Man, that was a deep game. I really got into that for a long time.
Somebody told me to stay away from that one.
Yeah.
They were like, "Cause you're bad enough with Skyrim and GTA."
Yeah.
They were like, "Don't add Assassin's Creed to it." Another one I was warned to stay away from is the Fallout series.
Oh, yeah.
I guess those have gotten pretty wild.
Yep. So now I went from Odyssey, finished Odyssey just around the time that Assassin's Creed Valhalla came out. And that's cool. I really like Valhalla. I haven't done any of the DLCs yet, but
Are you on console?
no. Console meaning PlayStation?
Yeah,
yep,
or
yep,
Xbox or
yep.
whatever. You're not PC.
No. But I really like that game. That's pretty cool. I dig that.
Do you remember EverQuest?
Oh yeah.
I bought that game, right? And it came with like all the DLCs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like $40.
Right.
Something crazy. Some crazy deal. And I was so excited. I can't remember why I couldn't immediately play it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had some time and I was like reading something about an article or something about how this guy like lost his house and his job and eventually his marriage because he got so addicted to this game.
Right. That's a little over the top.
I know. Seemed like it. But then I started seeing like it was becoming a thing. This game was so fucking big. Dude, I remember I pulled that game out and I went to go install the first disc and all of a sudden all those stories popped in back of my head and I was like, maybe not. And I just put that shit away, put it back on the shelf, and I never fucking played EverQuest. Not fucking once. I bought all them motherfuckers, never installed them. Like, I don't think this is a good idea. I'm bad enough with Madden football.
Mm-hmm.
Building my own franchise over 20, 30 years.
Right.
Dude, the Civilization, that's another one.
Yep.
City Skylines. Dude, these games are not even like actually the same type of fun that the open world are, and I have a big enough problem with them. So addictive, dude.
Right.
So addictive.
Yeah, I mean my son plays League of Legends.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a whole team that he plays with.
They competitive.
Yeah,
they do the competitive
They
shit.
do. They do the whole Twitch thing, and I just can't. I just don't get it, right? It's like basically it's capture the flag, right? Is really the element of it. But other than that, I just he talks about stuff that like whatever, man. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start incorporating a little bit more of it. That's part of the reason we got the fucking Twitch going now.
Yep.
I'm not a real gamer, so it's not gonna be as entertaining as some of the other shit I do at all.
There's some guys in the music scene that are actually really into the gaming.
Yep.
Joey
Moya is one of them.
Yep. Casey Harris from Coffin Rights.
I don't think I know him.
Yeah, he's a bass player for Coffin Rights.
Yeah, I don't think I know him. Well, shout out to Casey.
Yeah,
hey bud.
He's like a big gamer.
Smooches.
He does like he does a lot of like classic games. So I don't know, he did one that was like Castlevania or something, and they do like speed competitions to like get through the whole game or whatever, these
Jason Reed. Jason Reed
Reed
actually has a gaming thing. He started it with his kid.
Oh, nice.
That was kind of the point, is like they could spend time together, do something together, and then and they got, I think, like close to 1,500 subs now. They just monetized not too long ago.
Yep. See, I go again. I kind of go back in history here of like, I remember in high school the big thing was going to the arcade, early in high school, and we would play Tempest. We would play Asteroids, and again, but that was all new technology at the time, right?
My dad had an Asteroids.
Yep, I've still got one. I've got one at the house.
Yeah, for me, it was there's two eras of the arcade for me. Right? There was the first era, which I was pretty young, but Ninja Turtles video game was out.
Yep.
That was fucking cool.
Yep.
You got 4 people all playing together.
Yep. Have you ever played Dragon's Lair?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. That sounds familiar.
That was very innovative for its time. It basically was a cartoon element, and it would have flashes on the screen which way you would have to turn, right? And if you could respond quick enough, it would actually move correctly. If you didn't, the character would die. And you had like 3 deaths, in the game.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. I think I have it on my phone actually.
Dude, do you remember when fucking there was like a 2 to a 4 year spin where Mortal Kombat took over the world.
Yep.
And then I think by the time Mortal Kombat was ready to go to console, Tekken showed up. You remember Tekken?
Oh yes.
Man, I'm telling you, there was and all of that happened just like within a handful of years.
Yep.
And it was just like, it was crazy what was happening to video games all of a sudden. Because like I said, the peak was kind of like that Ninja Turtles game. There was a couple more. It was like Double Dragon.
Yep.
But yeah, the arcade games like in my era were so one-dimensional basically.
Yep.
They kind of maxed the and then all of a sudden Mortal Kombat showed up, and that took it over the world. And then boom, they threw it on console. It was like Super Nintendo and fucking Sega. The Genesis, I remember that. And then all of a sudden, I think it was like Mortal Kombat 2 had just come out, and it was like, who cares?
Right.
The new shit's Tekken.
Right.
And then when Tekken 2 came out, and the amount of polygons that they had switched to, I remember that was everyone thought they knew what they were talking about. Dude, it's the polygon, man. It's pixels now, is what we call it.
There were two games in the past that I really got hooked into. One was Goonies. There was a game, and this was like, I think on Nintendo. And it was just kind of this. It was almost like a Castlevania type of game where you kind of ran through the screens.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
And you
game.
had to collect keys and all this stuff. That I would spend hours playing. The other one was Mike Tyson's boxing.
The Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Oh my god,
dude! There's a dude I watch on TikTok.
Yep.
Like I only follow him because he plays retro games, and every once in a while he does a lot of speed runs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were telling me that your kid does, and one of them that he does is Mike Tyson's Punch Out. The nostalgia of watching this piece of shit game brings me so much joy. By today's standards, that game is a piece of shit.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, but it is.
Right.
I love it so much.
Right.
Like, there's nothing better than that game. It's the greatest thing ever made. And then do you remember, right in that same wheelhouse of the Nintendo games was, oh, fuck, what was that game called? I can't, it'll come to me in a minute, but Karate Kid was dope as fuck, too. Do you remember Karate Kid?
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Karate Kid was fucking cool video game, dude. It was dumb, but it was cool, man. I like that game so much, dude.
Prince of Persia. Remember Prince of Persia?
I never played Prince of Persia. I'd seen like a documentary or something about the history of that game, and I was like, this is kind of wild.
Yep.
Because they made a movie?
Yes.
That's fucking great.
Yep.
The cult and the lore of Prince of Persia.
Yep.
Pretty fucking wild.
For a while, probably back in the early 2000s, I got into a bunch of guys a place that I worked. They had a whole Quake server set up, and that was like a big thing for quite a while. We'd play Quake games like after hours. There'd be like 10, 15 people on this Quake server just like hammering away at it.
I got a buddy who was into those, and I remember when it was Doom and Wolfenstein and then eventually Quake.
Yep.
Yeah, that's basically your Call of Duty crowd now.
Yep.
And that's where all those went. And it's funny how, like, some people, that's what video games are.
Yep.
It's first-person shooters, and everything else can go fuck itself.
Right.
Dude, oh my god. Have you ever played the new Call of Duties?
No.
I had to stop on, I think it was Call of Duty 3. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was the one right after that. But regardless, I had to stop because if I could, I would have reached through my Xbox microphone and strangled an 11-year-old child to death. And I would be in jail right now for murder.
Right.
Of the worst kind. Of
Right.
the murder of a child.
Right.
Because I was going to. Like, he just said all the right things and he was kicking my fucking ass. I didn't rage, like, throw my shit. I didn't break anything.
Right.
Because I realized I couldn't reach through the microphone. So I wasn't going to break my own shit. I wanted to end his life. You know, like, I was like, oh, this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I just gently set my controller down, shut my Xbox off, and have never played Call of Duty since.
Yeah. Well, what's that one that there's a game that
I should probably get back
for like
into it
PC
now.
or whatever that is like that, and I can't remember the name of it.
There's a few. Destiny was huge for a while. Destiny was the game for a minute.
It's very much like Call of Duty though, where it's kind of war situation.
Yeah,
and
there's a couple of them. It's like there's PUBG and Fortnite. Those are like the
not Fortnite. No.
They're like battle royales now.
Yeah,
because that's what basically Call of Duty is descended into.
Yeah,
the popular thing. It's a battle royale now. Like you were saying earlier, it was capture the flag. Dude, when I was into that shit, that's what it was. It was control.
Yep. And
you were trying to get the other guy, and there's usually 3 in some sort of row.
Yep.
Right? So you started here, and you needed to get all 3 and hold them for a certain amount of time in order to win, or there's points accumulating the whole time anyways. And then it kind of switched into like a circle, you know, so it was more of an ABC instead of a linear idea, which was cool, you know, it is what it is. And then all of a sudden that battle royale style shit came out. And it took over the goddamn world, dude.
Yep.
Like, now that's basically what video games are. First-person shooter in a battle royale format. If it's not that, people are like, this is boring. Until they turn around and they played fucking Among Us.
Right.
Have you seen that one?
Oh, yes.
That almost made me want to get a PC just for gaming.
Right.
That I was like, this is a game I'd be into.
Right.
I don't trust fucking none of y'all. I'm the most I don't trust nobody. I'm always sus.
Right.
I'm super suspicious of people. So I think I'd be good at that game. I think I'd be able to figure out who the killers are pretty fucking quick.
Right.
And I was a bill collector for a long time. So hearing it in the voice, hearing people's bullshit in their voice, I'm pretty good at calling that out.
Right.
Be interesting to test.
Buddy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, anything else you want to touch on, dude?
Just like I said, I'm just working on like a lot of like little film projects.
Is there anything we can play? Or can you tease us or tell us where to go where they will be played when they come out?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly my YouTube channel for Ruby Glass Media, that will
This is youtube.com/RubyGlassMedia.
Well, I don't have like the customized slash yet because
we got to get you to 100 subs.
I don't have a number 100 followers yet.
All right, well,
I'm kind of new to that anyway, so it's.
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, definitely.
On the YouTube so we can get you 100 subs because that really helps.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That fucking because the address they give you is not related to your channel and it's super long.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a headache. So I always do like the little tiny URL, you know, and that usually helps.
Yep.
Right.
The bit.ly or whatever.
Yeah, the bit.ly.
You can also add a prefix or maybe it's a suffix to it where it's an auto sub.
Oh, okay.
That's what I recommend to a lot of people, man. So you take this little. And it's like, I think it's equals sub _ confirmation equals 1 or some shit like that. Some dumb fucking thing. And you take that and you put that at the end of your link and then take the whole thing and go throw it in a link shortener and put that on your Instagram. So when people click it, not only does it bring them to your YouTube channel, but it automatically pops up the thing to subscribe, so
Right.
they can subscribe right there.
Well, like Linktree is like a big thing now, right?
Same
It's like-
thing.
Yep.
Yeah, put that whole deal in your Linktree.
Yeah.
There's a better looking one out there though. I'm about to switch.
Oh,
It's the
really?
exact same thing, but it's way more like you can theme it and make it look a lot better.
Right.
Because yeah, Linktree, unless you pay for it, it's kind of clunky.
Yeah, and the only reason I know about Linktree is like, models that I've been, working with and everything. Most of them have link trees that, go to like that way they can put all their different sites that, that they set up.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I gotta have one.
Yep.
Because it's like, and I'm trying to explain this to a few different people where it's like, not everybody is on all the platforms,
Right.
right? So you need to be on all the
Mhm.
platforms. So if I'm on Instagram, that's where I can follow you. If I'm on Twitter, that's where I can follow you. Unfortunately, Instagram is the only one that is set up for people like you, right? Like, that's kind of the whole point. But if you're clever, you can really get any kind of content and
Mhm.
follower interaction on there. But yeah, you got to kind of blanket all that shit, dude, and like just kind of deal with the fact that, yeah, I don't really want to build a Twitter following, but I still have to be on there. But there's a reason I don't fucking post on Twitter. There's a reason I don't follow more than like, I think I'm following like a few cigar companies. I'm following my local politician so I can yell at her.
Mhm.
It's like dumb shit like that. I think I
Mhm.
follow a couple local radio hosts.
Right.
I think one time there was a comedian who fucking, I can't remember what it was. It's hilarious.
Right.
Like, Twitter's not even real to me, but I have to have it,
Right.
And I think that's even in my link tree too.
Yeah, I mean, I have a Twitter account. I just don't get into it.
It's the most toxic.
Instagram is probably the one that I'm using the most, and the only reason I'm using Instagram a little bit more now is that I can automatically feed Facebook, and Facebook I pay attention to, but it is what it is, right?
What's gonna happen now with the meta thing?
Who knows?
I want in. I want to go into the Matrix.
Yeah, that's probably what it's going to turn into.
I want to go into the Matrix or Ready Player One, whatever.
Right.
I'm not gonna fight it. I'm gonna embrace it. I want in.
I do like the Vimeo idea. It's like you can use that site pretty easily to really post. I mean, someone that's kind of what I'm trying to do with with film and all these other things to get content out there. You can get content out there, and it covers a pretty broad spectrum of people that are out there.
Are you on TikTok yet?
I'm kind of playing with it right now. I haven't started doing anything. I saw stuff that like Greg did and things like that, and I might start doing something along those lines. But probably when I go into actually filming, at this point when I get out of like my screenwriting, dilemma, once I start filming everything, then I'm probably gonna like light up TikTok and start putting little snippets out there to kind of attract it.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I still don't know what I want to do on TikTok.
Yep.
I'm still just fucking around with it.
Yep.
Kind of like same thing with Instagram. There's a reason none of my social medias have followings. It's because I have no idea what I'm doing, and I really have never thought about it. Like, I realize the amount of time and energy that these people put into their fucking posts and their hashtags and like, oh my god, dude! If you really want to like actually go viral, it's fucking work.
It's like a full-time job.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I don't want to go viral. I don't give a fuck, but I need to be present and do this stupid shit, right? So
Yep.
I'm like kind of fucking around with it because once you figure out what you want to do and how to do it on these platforms, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, because they're all a little different, right?
Right.
Once you figure it out, though, dude, there is some fucking cool shit out there, dude. And like, it's the same thing. Like, what do I even want to see on TikTok? You got to build your own algorithm for a while and fucking learn how their algorithm works versus because you can't dislike shit. You can't. It's not Reddit. You can't downvote it.
Yep.
You gotta be. You gotta be careful how long you watch something you're not into, because that's basically how the algorithm works. It's like, if you watch something in its entirety and then allow it to replay, especially if you allow it to replay a couple times, they take everything about that algorithm and just start dumping shit like that to you.
Right.
So if you're smart, you can manipulate that thing pretty fucking quick. And dude, mine is basically down to musicians that don't annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's who I follow now on Instagram. Musicians or people that I think are funny and they don't annoy the shit out of me.
Right.
Because there's other musicians I really fucking like and admire, but the content they put out on Instagram or TikTok, it's fucking annoying, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I ain't trying to be. I'm still a fan. I'll go
Right.
see your concerts and shit, but I ain't fucking following you on this platform. So again, but this content you're putting out over on Instagram, I'm down with that. I'll follow you over there.
Right.
For real. Like I stumble across all kinds of musicians that I'm a fan of their bands.
Yep.
Then I see what they're putting on TikTok, and I'm like, oh fuck this. I'm out, dude. And I'm not gonna call anybody out, but some get fucking weird, dude. So if you can figure out how you want, like some of them are production tips, dude. Fucking cool, man. Like this guy's like, I got a question about this, and you can reply to it, and he's like, how do you do this to your? And he's like, oh yeah, actually, it's this really subtle thing. You just do this and dot dot dot. 30 seconds long, and I'm like, fuck, dude, that's actually fucking something I'm like didn't even know.
Right.
I've been frustrated with for a while. Yeah, that will make my kick drum sound better. Let me do that.
Right.
Sometimes it's mic placement, whatever, you know, dumb shit. And I don't think I'm enough of an expert on anything to make that kind of content.
Right.
But you could do all that kind of. There's dudes that do it in their DAW. They snip that shit down, give you a screenshot.
Right.
There's guys that'll do it in the field. Fucking cool, man.
I've kind of played around. I mean, there's been people that have hit me up for like training, you know, sitting down and working with photos, right?
Yeah, once you figure out what
doing
you want to
post
do,
or, you know, how I shoot photos, you know, and kind of, I don't know. I think sometimes people are looking for like that secret sauce, you know, oh, do I have like, oh, this magic bag of tricks, you know, and unfortunately I'm not Felix the cat, so I don't really have that you know, that magic. But what I do is I basically just sit down with them and teach them the basics.
Yeah.
And you know, there was even like it was kind of funny. There was a high school kid that wanted to shoot photography, you know, as a full-time job. I says, okay, well, wait a second. Before you think about doing that, what else do you want to do? Because you have to kind of consider the fact that if you're just starting out, you're not gonna make money at this. It's going to be very, very slow going.
Yeah.
But they wanted an introduction, so I kind of set up it with some bands to go shoot the bands. So we went and shot, and you know, shooting concert photos to begin with is a challenge. It's not like walking outside and taking a photo. There's a lot to consider. So I've been doing a little bit of training, and I've been thinking about, you know, possibly that might be another avenue that I can take to kind of make things interesting and maybe come up with presets or come up with you know, certain elements of photos that will work, or certain elements that will work for all photos.
Yeah, and it's weird too because like the guys that blow up and shit.
Yeah.
At the beginning, when they were what you can see what they were trying to do and what they wanted to do, it didn't work.
Right.
Like people weren't into it.
Yep.
But then they slowly evolved, figured out a couple things.
Yep.
For that platform, and all of a sudden, boom, they popped. And you can see it, and then they're like, okay, this is what this is the type of content that works for this platform. And then they fucking just nail it.
Yep. And
they just go full pedal to the metal, dude. And it's interesting because it's like, it's almost never what they actually intended to do.
Right.
And then they found this weird little niche that only works for them on TikTok.
Right.
It's not going to work for anybody else on any other. You're not starting a YouTube channel. You could start a YouTube channel, but you're going to have to do something different. You don't just re-upload because for some reason, dude, the way TikTok works, those videos do not do nearly as well on Instagram or YouTube. Both have a version of it, shorts and reels, I think they're called.
Right. On Instagram, yep.
Yeah, it's not the same. It doesn't, like, it's weird, man. I don't get it. I don't know how to explain it.
Yep.
But once you figure it out, and you'll figure it out. You're pretty creative. Yep. But I'm curious as to what it'll be. Will it be tutorial and instructional shit, or will it be, you know, like you in the process of doing something like, yeah, because I got some fucking weird follows. There's one dude I follow. He sits in front of a camera and he hand makes fishing lures. I'll sit there and watch that. Dude, I'm not joking. I'll sit there and watch, and he listens to music. Yep. And I'll sit there and watch this dude for hours.
Right.
Like while I'm doing other shit.
Right.
And it'll just be sitting there on my phone while I'm doing other shit.
Right.
And it's fucking hilarious, the dumb shit that I am into.
There's someone that I follow on YouTube that they kind of have this really interesting like film perspective, right? And they drive around this part of this, I'll call it the Skid Row area, but I think it's Kensington, Philadelphia. And they drive around this area with a camera that's pointed out to the sidewalk. And they literally just kind of walk up and down the street, or they basically are just driving up and down the street. And they're filming, there's really no sound other than the car driving. There's no talk through or anything, but and these videos are probably 15, 20 minutes long. But it's almost like the raw elements of life. Yeah. And there's a lot of, in that specific area, there's a lot of like drug abuse and things like that. And it's not to highlight that, but it's to show kind of the societal effects of that lifestyle. But I mean,
that homeless shit is wild, bro.
It's pretty interesting.
It's fucking wild, man. I'm from Northeast, right? Mm-hmm. There's a fucking homeless camp outside the Target in Northeast. Mm-hmm. Dude, they be jacking people in the parking lot. They break into cars. They steal shit from the stores. Mm-hmm. Like, that used to be, I grew up in that neighborhood, and it used to be a nice place. No crime. Mm-hmm. And now my wife is like, she's like, I don't even feel comfortable shopping there.
Right.
Like it's just, and I don't know, man. It's fucking crazy. It's absolutely crazy because I started looking into homelessness and like the homeless crisis. And in every city where they have the highest, and you'd think this is common sense, but where they have the highest budgets to fight homelessness, they have the worst problem of homelessness. And you go, well, of course, because they have the worst problem, they're going to put the most money towards it. Yep. But every time they increase the money they try to put to fix homelessness, the number of homeless people actually goes up.
Right.
And it's just like, they can't seem to fix it.
Right.
Like, it just keeps getting worse. Right. And now the shit that's happening in LA and San Francisco and shit is starting to happen here in Minneapolis. And we never thought it would be here. Well, that's an LA thing, da 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 da.
It's interesting. In this channel that I'm referring to, they have like, I actually think it's a female videographer that does it, but that channel has hundreds, if not thousands of videos, and they do one each day, every day. And it's just it's really.
Is it on TikTok?
It's not on TikTok. It's on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. You did say that. My bad.
It's interesting because it's almost like a snapshot.
Do you remember the name of it?
I want to say I think the channel's name is Kim Gary.
I'm gonna look it up.
But it's interesting, and the one thing that occurred to me is
their short videos. Yeah,
they're like, I think 20 minutes. Max.
Oh, that's pretty long. I mean, you know how much they probably filmed to edit down to 20 minutes.
Actually, it's pretty much, there's not a lot of editing.
Oh, really?
That goes into it. It's just kind of the video, and then there's some simple transitions, but that's about it.
Crazy. So pretty impressive.
One of the things that kind of occurred to me though is that if we ever thought that zombies didn't exist, it's like in this neighborhood they almost do. Because actually real life zombies, people that are, that obviously have pretty serious addictions and things like that. There's a lot of heroin use, in that area.
Yeah, a lot of that is a result of the fucking oxy epidemic.
Exactly.
Regular people who got prescribed and addicted to OxyContin became homeless
Yeah.
because they lost their jobs because they were drug addicts. They were taking a heavy narcotic, and they were told it was safe by their doctors and the pharmaceutical companies. And then once they were homeless, couldn't afford Oxy anymore. Heroin's cheaper, so they switched to heroin.
It's just a huge,
up,
it's a
man.
huge problem in this one area, and some people are just
San
walking
Francisco,
around.
right?
No, it's Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia. I thought you said Skid Row.
No, I said it's like Skid Row.
Oh,
I think it's
Gotcha.
Kensington, Pennsylvania. It's in Philadelphia.
Okay.
It's right near Philadelphia.
I got you.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I'm not sure why it's just so captivating. It's almost like you have a window. You have a window into that world that we didn't know either existed or that we weren't really consciously aware of.
Yeah.
So it kind of shows you what it's like, it's real life. It's real stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know if there's a solution to it. If there's a way that they're trying to make it better, because it doesn't seem like it is. It doesn't really look like it ever gotten better if I go back 2 months and I look at video versus the current one, it's kind of the same situation.
Right.
It doesn't seem like the city or the quote government is doing anything about it.
Yeah, and I don't think they can.
Right.
I don't think you can do anything to change somebody else's mind.
Right.
And that's what has to change in order for anything to happen.
Right.
Like, they got to decide, like, if we're talking about a drug addict, you can pick them up and throw them in jail. You can pick them up and throw them in rehab. Yep. But until they decide they're done,
oh yeah,
they're not done. And that seems like so obvious, and it seems so common sense, but that's also true with taking your medication if you ever have mental illness, like getting to a doctor, keeping a job. Like I know a lot of people that I have met where they were basically street kids. Like, they want to be home. They do not want a job. They do not want that lifestyle. They want to be transients. They're street kids. And that is a part of the homeless crisis as well. Is the system, if you think about it that way, is so fucked that there's more and more people being like, I'd rather be homeless. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, homeless is appealing? That's how bad shit is?
Right.
Wow, that's fucking wild, man. Because I don't give a fuck who you are. That shit's a hard ass life. And it's, I just don't know, man. It's fucking, I don't think anybody can fix it until the value people are getting back with the output they're putting in. Yep. Until that ratio changes, so they're getting not just money, but they're getting like self-worth from having a job, basically, and keeping a job or a career or a passion, whatever it takes to not be homeless.
I think there's a mix. There's a mix of
there's a bunch of vets in there too.
Of some that maybe can't do that, maybe have had bad luck, things like that. And then there's obviously the ones that you talked about where.
Do you know about the vets?
Made choice.
The vets are an interesting one. So they get housing provided by the VA, but they're not allowed to drink or do drugs, and they have to take fucking piss tests and shit. And a lot of them are like, fuck that, man.
Right.
That's basically jail. And I think they have to check in at a certain time. Like, I don't remember exactly what the detail is, but I've seen it, again, like a documentary thing, and it's just like, there's so many things we have to where it's like, it's almost too easy to become homeless. And then in order to not be homeless, people want control over your life. That's what it's kind of painted out. Like, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, you got to do that. And it's not, I'm not talking about being responsible, like you and I have to be. I'm talking about like me having an ability to invade your privacy. Nope, you got to do drug tests. You got to do this. That's not appealing to people, man. That just sounds like control. So if I want to get better, I got to let you run my life.
Right.
Like, wait, what? Nobody's going to do that? No wonder we have more homeless people. Because the only way they can... And then I want to know, where the fuck is that money going?
Right.
Because it's clearly not helping the homeless. That's why, dude, I'm still pretty fucking liberal. But as I get older, I definitely start to understand my government-hating grandparents. I don't want to give the government any control or decision-making ability. I don't want to give them more money. I don't trust them. They've proven to not be able to do a goddamn thing. And even in my era, we can't even win wars anymore. Like, at least in their era, they were good at killing people.
Right.
Now we don't even do that. You know, we just, oh God, I can't even get started. We should wrap this up, dude.
Yep.
We've been going about 3 hours, man.
Okay.
This is a blast, brother. I
Yeah,
appreciate
definitely.
you coming down and doing this. If
Yeah, thanks for
anybody's
having me.
interested for any video or photo work, links in the description, Ruby Glass Media.
Yep.
All your contacts information is
Yep.
there, correct?
Definitely.
And let's get this man to 100 subs. I'm going to put that link here in the description as well to get you over to Ruby Glass Media on their YouTube channel so we can get you to your first 100 subs, man.
Definitely.
Probably maybe 3 people will actually do it. But
hey, three's better than 0, right?
Let's get you to 100. Let's get you to 100 so you get that fucking custom.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, if there's any band,
Oh, whoa, whoa! Hold on. I forgot to turn that off.
I was just edited.
If there's anybody, I'm sorry, dude.
That's okay.
It usually just plays to the end, and I'm sitting here and I turn it off. But I left it on, so when we went back to that scene, it started from the top again. I apologize, my brother.
Yeah, and speaking of music, that was great. That was actually a good segue. Speaking of music, if there's any bands out there that that are interested in doing, you know, any promotional work, any to talk about any creative work for music videos, certainly hit me up. Same thing with individual you know, photos too. If somebody if you have a concept or, you know, you want to create something, obviously the darker and the more horrifying the better. I can certainly work with that, and, you know, would love to hear it and love to work with anybody.
Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming down, man.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Let's do this again sometime.
Yep. Thanks, man.
You drink?
Occasionally.
All right. Next summer.
Next summer.
Come back like 6 months.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah.
have a couple beers or a couple cocktails, whatever you like.
Yeah, definitely.
For y'all, like, subscribe, follow, sub, whatever fucking platform you're watching this on. We're on multiple platforms now. I don't even know where you guys are, but I love you and I appreciate you.
Yep.
You're the real ones.